Chapter 15-17. Xiao Yan grinned as he looked at the man who was clearly much more muscular than the last time they met. Xiao Yang, you're actually with Xiao Chuheng given your arrogant personality? Xiao Yan was momentarily stunned when he saw that the two of them were actually walking together in the former's submissive manner. Given Xiao Chuheng's domineering character, when did he learn to stand behind someone else? Of course it's his brother's masterpiece. Xiao Xian, who was beside him, smiled and said, after the clan meeting ended, Xiao Yang was quite famous in the clan. However, due to the power of his bloodline, it was difficult for the upper echelons of the clan to take notice of him. It was Xiao Feng who personally handed Xiao Chuheng over to him. On the surface, it was to let Xiao Yang discipline him, but in reality, he was using his connections in the clan to let Xiao Yang get the resources that should belong to him. Hearing this, Xiao Yan's eyebrows twitched. He said with a teasing smile, I really couldn't tell that guy was so warm-hearted. He also fought his way up from the bottom of the clan. Naturally, he can understand the feeling of being seen but ignored. Xiao Xian sighed softly as his gaze fell on Xiao Chuheng. There was some admiration in his eyes as he said in a low voice, however, that little fellow seems to have some awareness. Although he does appear to hate Xiao Yang on the surface, he still admires the latter's hard work. After following Xiao Yang for over 2 years, he has grown quite a bit. Xiao Yan nodded in agreement. Putting everything else aside, the fact that Xiao Chuheng could obediently follow behind Xiao Yang was enough to prove what Xiao Xian said. Xiao Yang on the opposite side ignored Xiao Yan's ridicule. His eyes shifted to Xiao Xian as he bowed slightly. It was a rare display of respect for someone. I won't get involved in the matters between the two of you. Sensing the meaning in Xiao Yang's eyes, Xiao Xian smiled and then retreated to the side with Hui Xian. Seeing this, Xiao Yang's gaze once again landed on Xiao Yan. His tone was still as arrogant as it was back then. I thought you wouldn't dare to come back. This low cry immediately caused quite a number of passers-by to stop in their tracks. Ever since the clan gathering, Xiao Yang's name had become quite well known in Xiao City for the past 2 years. Hence, when everyone saw that Xiao Yang had actually displayed such an attitude towards a young man, quite a number of people's eyes had some pity surfacing in them when they looked at Xiao Yan. Ignoring the gazes of those people around him, Xiao Yan merely smiled in response to the former's words and slowly said, You're shameless enough to stay behind, so what reason do I have not to come back? Cut the crap. Make your move. Today, I will definitely defeat you and wipe away my previous humiliation. With a cold snort, Xiao Yan took a heavy step forward. Instantly, a tyrannical aura ruthlessly rushed towards Xiao Yan like a storm. The latter sensed the aura and lightly nodded his head, smiling as he said, Not bad. You've already advanced to the advanced 5-star origin ancestor level in 2 years. After speaking, Xiao Yan also slowly took a step forward. When the aura from the opposite side arrived in front of him, a vast pressure that was even more surging than the former suddenly swept out from Xiao Yan's body. It instantly shattered the incoming pressure like a hot knife through butter. At the same time, the expressions of the onlookers on both sides of the street changed drastically due to this astonishing pressure. 7-star origin ancestor. The instant the aura from Xiao Yan's body swept out, Xiao Yang clearly sensed Xiao Yan's current strength. Dense shock surged onto his face as he cried out in surprise. During these 2 years, even though he had been training hard day and night without sleeping and had used the many resources of the Xiao clan, his cultivation had merely risen by 1 star. Even so, he could be considered quite good among those of the same generation. However, Xiao Yan's cultivation had leaped from a 3-star source ancestor to a 7-star source ancestor after 2 years of not seeing him. This speed was many times faster than his own. This fellow, how did he do it? At this very moment, even with Xiao Yang's arrogance, the shock in his heart could not help but surface on his face. The black-robed fellow before him was simply a freak. Do you still want to fight? Xiao Yan asked with a faint smile. Cut the crap. I've been madly training for the past 2 years for the sake of defeating you. No matter how much you've improved, I will not back down. An explosive roar was emitted from Xiao Yang's throat as his feet heavily stomped on the ground. The instant the rock under his feet burst apart, his body abruptly shot forward. Genesis Chi surged from his right fist as it viciously smashed towards Xiao Yan. Thud. However, Xiao Yan was able to block such a powerful force with one hand. After which, he merely took half a step back and easily resolved the force that was attacking his arm. He gently twisted his hand that was holding Xiao Yang's fist as Genesis Chi poured out from his palm, pushing Xiao Yang back with a single blow. Subsequently, he slowly raised his eyes and nodded. Your explosive power has increased again. It seems that your hard work over the past 2 years has not only been focused on your cultivation. Hearing this, Xiao Yang remained unmoved. He turned his gaze and exchanged glances with Xiao Chuheng beside him. The two of them nodded in unison. When they looked back again, the two of them actually raised their hands at the same time. The seals formed between their hands were surprisingly the same. Is this a fusion do skill? You guys have even learned to find helpers for yourselves. Upon seeing this, even with Xiao Yan's understanding of the two, a look of surprise involuntarily appeared on his face. With a thought, the Genesis Chi in his body began to rapidly circulate. In the face of such a technique, even he could not underestimate it. Wind convergence. Rock whale howl. While the Genesis Chi in Xiao Yan's body was rapidly circulating, a whale formed from rock rapidly materialized in the air in front of the Xiao Yang duo. Its large mouth opened as a terrifying suction force frantically surged out from the whale's body. Under the duo's control, the whale viciously charged towards Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan, this move can be considered a greeting gift from the two of us. Whale absorbs all rivers. As he felt the terrifying suction force heading towards him, Xiao Yan's body began to lose control for a time. Even so, the expression on his face grew increasingly heated as he laughed heartily and shouted. Since that's the case, I'll accept it. Under everyone's gazes, Xiao Yan's right hand suddenly clenched into a fist. The instant his 5 fingers clenched tightly, scarlet red flames immediately surged out and coiled around his entire right arm like a magma armor. Subsequently, it abruptly blasted out, charging straight towards the whale's bloody mouth. Bzz. That whale swallowed half of Xiao Yan's arm into its mouth amidst the swallowing sound. However, the scarlet flame that was burning on it borrowed the wild wind around it to become even fiercer. Moreover, it was repeatedly sucked into the body of the rock whale. After over 10 breaths, the strength of the flame became even fiercer. A cluster of scarlet color gradually spread from the abdomen of the rock whale. At the same time, the expressions on the faces of Xiao Yang and Xiao Chuheng on the opposite side also began to become serious. Ha! With a low roar, the half of Xiao Yan's arm that had been swallowed by the rock whale trembled violently, and the fierce heavenly fire suddenly soared several times. Immediately after, under the shocked gazes of the surrounding crowd, scarlet-red cracks rapidly spread on the surface of the rock whale. The heavenly fire that gushed out from the cracks actually melted the body of the rock whale into magma. The terrifyingly high temperature that spread out caused the temperature of the area to rise rapidly, and even the air became much drier. Under such an unforeseen event, the crazy suction force also quickly dissipated as the body of the rock whale melted. In less than a few minutes, the huge rock whale completely melted into a pool of magma, which then drifted into the air under the control of Xiao Yan. When the flames completely dissipated, the atmosphere on the field gradually calmed down. Many people's gazes that were fixed on Xiao Yan finally began to ripple a little. Chapter 15:18. Xiao Yan? That's right, isn't this fellow the one who caused an uproar in the Xiao clan back then? I heard that he left after that. It is unexpected that not only has he returned, but he has become even stronger. Even Xiao Yang is no match for him. Hey, what kind of news is this? I have long heard that Xiao Yang overcame all obstacles in the clan gathering of the Xiao clan back then. In the end, he fell in front of Xiao Yan. Hence, didn't he say earlier that he wanted to avenge his previous humiliation? Unfortunately, he was still defeated. A discussion about Xiao Yan immediately sounded on the street when the memories from a couple of years ago were once again flipped through in everyone's minds. Everyone fought to describe some of the things that had happened back then. Although they had only heard about it, it was as though they had personally experienced it when it was spread from their mouths. Private conversations continued to spread throughout the street. At this moment, Xiao Yan, who had withdrawn his flame, had a face full of praise as he looked at the two people opposite him, whose expressions were not too good. He slowly stepped forward and smiled as he said, "Not bad. A very good dose skill. I can see that you were holding back just now. Humph, there is no need to console us. If we were to talk about holding back, didn't you also not use your full strength?" Even though this was the case, Xiao Yang's face was still cold. The former smiled indifferently and shook his head. "I must say that if you were to meet an ordinary 7-star origin sect with this move of yours, you would be able to put up a fight." Xiao Yang was initially startled when he heard this. He was naturally surprised to be acknowledged by his opponent. However, after hearing Xiao Yan's words, he had placed himself on the other side of the battle. "Since you have returned this time around, you should properly stay behind." Xiao Chuheng by the side suddenly said something that caused Xiao Yan to be surprised. In his impression, this fellow was eager to see him go as far away as possible. It was unexpected that he would actually say such words to persuade him to stay. Xiao Chuheng by the side suddenly said something that caused Xiao Yan to be surprised. "Yes." Xiao Yan pursed his mouth and smiled. He immediately nodded heavily and did not say anything else. After which, he swiftly rushed to the entrance of the Xiao clan with the Xiao Xian trio in front of these two people's gazes. After a long while, the group of 4 appeared in front of the familiar courtyard. The moment they stepped in, 2 figures hurriedly ran out from the depths of the courtyard. At a glance, it was Bai Hua and Lian Er. Both parties had not seen each other for a long time. Now that Xiao Yan had returned, they naturally could not help but hug each other in surprise. Soon after, everyone entered the depths of the villa together. Along the way, Lian Er's gaze curiously observed the Huarong siblings beside Xiao Yan. Only when everyone was seated in the living room and Xiao Yan gave a general introduction did Hua Xing and Hua Xian finally enter the joyous atmosphere. Now that Xiao Yan had returned and Xiao Yan had made arrangements, the siblings naturally moved into Xiao Yan's courtyard. News of Xiao Yan's return to the clan swiftly spread as though it had grown wings after he returned to the mansion. Within a short period of time, it had spread throughout the entire Xiao clan. Quite a number of people were immediately alarmed by this news. Xiao clan's back mountain. In the dense forest, surprise immediately surfaced on Xiao Zhen's old face when he heard the report from a figure in front of him. He involuntarily cried out. "What did you say? That little fellow has advanced to a 7-star origin sect?" "That's right. Tisk tsk, they are indeed worthy of being grandfather and grandson. Their monstrous cultivation speed is truly monstrous." Other than this, even the combined attack of Xiao Yang and Xiao Chuheng was blocked by Xiao Yan with just one hand. Xiao Zhen lifted his eyebrows slightly when he heard this. He mused for a moment before nodding. He still had some understanding of Xiao Yan's fighting strength in his heart. Xiao Yan had been able to defeat a 4-star origin zone when Xiao Yan was a 3-star origin zone. Now that Xiao Yan's actual cultivation had risen to such an extent, his true fighting strength was naturally incomparable to the past. Xiao Zhen exhaled a deep breath of air and gently lifted his finger. The human figure in front of him quietly disappeared. A pair of turbid old eyes looked in Xiao Yan's direction. However, at this moment, a ray of light suddenly shot out from the calm space behind the first elder and struck Xiao Zhen's back. Chi, under the daylight, the ray of light was almost hidden in the void, and it was extremely difficult to discover with the naked eye. However, in the end, it strangely disappeared when it was about 10 feet away from Xiao Zhen's body. Immediately after, a deflated sound rang out beside the straw hut not far away. The figure appeared. Her delicate figure matched with an exquisite and pretty face. Shockingly, it was Xiao Ling Er. Boring. Seeing that you were so engrossed in your thoughts, I thought I would succeed this time. The young girl walked forward with a somewhat depressed expression on her face. Then, she sat down beside the old man. The latter was not annoyed. He only withdrew his thoughts and gently stroked his beard with a smile. You've improved. Your control of the power of the Great Path has become more and more skillful. Even I can't see through your current attacks. Pa. 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 It would be strange if you could see with your back facing me. Xiao Linger wrinkled her nose. She was not moved by the old man's compliments at all. Xiao Zhen was used to this. He smiled with a doting expression and continued. Girl, I just received a piece of news. Do you want to hear it? Hearing this, the young girl snorted. She curled her lips and turned around, but she ignored Xiao Zhen's words. However, immediately after, Xiao Yan has returned. The moment the words left her mouth, the young girl immediately stood up from the ground and said in surprise. Really? Xiao Zhen involuntarily let out a bitter smile when he saw the sudden change in the girl's attitude. He immediately nodded and stated Xiao Yan's current position. Xiao Ling's lovely body immediately moved when she heard this. She rushed down the mountain. Behind her, Xiao Zhen hurriedly stopped her and said, He has just returned. He hasn't rested yet. Go the next day. When the shout sounded, the human figures on the small path in the distant mountain forest had already disappeared. It was a long while before a response was transmitted over. Only then did the old man helplessly sigh. He could not help but envy Xiao Yan in his heart. The girl whom he had painstakingly raised had actually submitted to him in the blink of an eye because of Xiao Yan's return. This really caused people to feel a little jealous. At the same time, Xiao Dingtian and the others in the other parts of the Xiao clan had also received the news that Xiao Yan had returned to the clan. For a time, some were happy, while others were sad. In the garden, after half a day of interaction, the relationship between the Hua siblings and the others had quickly become much more harmonious. Hua Xing and Bai Hua could be considered to be of the same lineage. Moreover, the two of them did not speak much. Just sitting together could be considered a kind of tacit understanding. As for Hua Xian and Lian Er, compared to men, the relationship between women had undoubtedly warmed up by several times. In just a short while, the two young girls had become much closer. As they chatted, their lovely laughter sounded continuously like silver bells. This scene also caused Xiao Yan to feel surprised. At the same time, the depths of his eyes became a little absent-minded. Only when night fell did the travel-weary few people return to their rooms. The continuous month of hurrying had indeed caused the Huarong siblings to be physically and mentally exhausted. Only Xiao Yan was lying on the roof by himself. His eyes, which were reflected by the stars, reflected a somewhat disappointed and frustrated expression. Chapter 1519. Under the quiet night sky, Xiao Yan's body lazily lay on the roof. The emotions in his heart were somewhat complicated. Xiao Yan's gaze looked at the deep night sky. His recent encounters during this period of time repeatedly replayed in his mind. This was especially the case when he recalled the intimate relationship between Lian Er and Hua Xian during the day. Xiao Yan's deep memory of a white-colored long dress and delicate body involuntarily surfaced. Little fairy doctor, once the memories in the depths of one's heart were dug out, it was difficult to hide them. He muttered softly over and over again. The days when the girl in a white dress accompanied him became increasingly clear in Xiao Yan's mind. Even though many years had passed, it still felt like yesterday when he recalled it. From the inconspicuous small town at the foot of the mountain to the continent of experts where heroes stood side by side, the girl had no regrets no matter how many dangers she encountered along the way. Even when he came to this foreign continent alone, she still forcefully broke through the barrier and evened out the distance between them by an entire world. However, in the end, Xiao Yan could not help but sigh heavily as he recalled the battle at the Tianyun villa. A ripple surfaced in his eyes, which had been bloodied for many years. His heart was filled with endless self-blame and guilt. If it were not for him back then, that girl would not have ended up in such a miserable state. When he thought of the Du Yi sect and Su Zhen, endless murderous intent surged into his head. He clenched his teeth tightly, causing them to emit a creaking sound. Even the night sky before him began to distort due to his rage. Distorted cracks began to spread out. It was a long while before Xiao Yan's emotions slowly calmed down. He deeply inhaled a few mouthfuls of cold air before exhaling deeply. He closed his eyes and recalled. Today, when he learned that Xiao Xian was in charge of the Xiao clan's cabinet, an impulse had emerged in his heart. If he could borrow the foundation of the Xiao clan to take revenge for the little fairy doctor, there was no need for him to wait any longer. Xiao Yan's heart was filled with impatience when he thought of being able to kill Wu Du, Su Zhen, and the others. Even his breathing had become a little hurried. However, in the end, he violently shook his head and forcefully removed this thought from his heart. The little fairy doctor had died for him. No matter how one put it, Xiao Yan could only personally take revenge for the little fairy doctor. There would also come a day when he would take revenge for all the debts he had with the Du Ai sect. As this thought rose in his mind, Su Zhen's figure slowly flashed in the depths of Xiao Yan's eyes. His hands, which had just relaxed, suddenly clenched into fists again. The next day, the Xiao clan, which had been quiet for a period of time, had once again become lively. This was because the geniuses of the Xiao clan, who rarely showed themselves, had gathered together early this morning. Moreover, all of them were heading in the same direction. Their grand and mighty manner was quite imposing. Even some of the elders in the clan could not help but cast their gazes over. Xiao Yan was flipping through the storage ring that originally belonged to Bai Sheng in a bored manner within the main hall. After searching for a while, even he could not help but complain on behalf of Bai Sheng. Other than a small number of Tier 7 medicinal pills, there was not even a single high-class qi method or dou technique in the storage ring of this 8-star origin sect. Even the highest level dou technique was merely at the low E class. Xiao Yan could not even be bothered to take a look at the rest. However, while Xiao Yan was fiddling with the storage ring, a withered wooden cylinder in the storage ring piqued his interest. This was because from what he could see, the material of the withered wooden cylinder was surprisingly the fire banyan tree. The fire banyan tree was unique to the flowing fire plains. Its deterrent force was renowned throughout the entire middle region. What could be so extravagant as to use the fire banyan tree to store it? Xiao Yan took out the wooden cylinder out of curiosity. The moment it entered his hand, a warm feeling was transmitted into his palm. At the same time, Huixing, who was seated opposite him, also cast his gaze toward the wooden cylinder in Xiao Yan's hand. He immediately frowned slightly as he swiftly thought of something in his mind. Xiao Yan also sized up the wooden cylinder at this moment. After confirming that there were no restrictions on it, he carefully opened the cover on the side of the wooden cylinder. A wave of heat surged out the moment the cover was opened. Xiao Yan tilted his head slightly and looked at the interior of the wooden cylinder. Upon closer inspection, it appeared to be a scroll. When Xiao Yan took it out, the golden words on it immediately caused his eyes to brighten. Earth Spirit Quenching Flame Pill. The instant Xiao Yan's gaze landed on the scroll, Huixing seemed to have thought of something and suddenly opened his mouth. Do you recognize this thing? Seeing Huixing call out the pill formula at a glance, Xiao Yan raised his eyebrows slightly. He then weighed the scroll in his hand and asked curiously. Hearing this, Huixing nodded slightly and continued to speak. This pill formula was created by the ancestors of my Fire Banyan tribe. However, it was lost many years ago. I didn't expect to have the opportunity to see it today. Surprise surfaced on Xiao Yan's face when he heard these words. He did not hesitate as he placed the scroll back into the wooden cylinder. He gently raised his hand and handed it over to Huixing under the support of an invisible force. He smiled and said, "Brother Huixing. Since this pill formula is a relic of the Fire Banyan tribe and I have coincidentally met you, it can be considered as returning to its original owner." However, in this regard, Huixing shook his head with a smile and pushed it back. He shrugged helplessly and said, "Don't worry. You're more suitable. I'm not an alchemist. If this pill formula falls into my hands, it'll only be a useless scroll. If you really want to return it, why don't you wait until you've refined the pills on the scroll and give me a few? It'll be more worth it. Ha ha ha. Hearing these words, the three of them couldn't help but laugh. Huixing's plan was more practical and impressive than obtaining a pill formula. At this moment, before the laughter of the three people in the hall faded, Huixian hurriedly ran in with a flustered expression. The laughter of the three people in the hall also came to an abrupt stop. Senior Xiao Yan, it's not good. There are so many people who suddenly barged in from outside. The young girl's exclamation sounded. Xiao Yan and the other two's expressions changed slightly. The former frowned and looked at Bai Hua as he asked in a deep voice. Could it be Xiao Dingtian? As his voice fell, a series of footsteps sounded from outside the door. After that, a familiar clear laughter sounded from the courtyard. Huh, cousin Xiao Yan, why didn't you inform us that you were coming back? For the past 2 years, we have been hoping that you would return as soon as possible. As the laughter was transmitted, a group of familiar figures quickly appeared in front of the door of the living room. Xiao Yan was also slightly startled when he saw the lineup in front of him. A warm smile immediately surged onto his face as he said, "So it's you guys." At this moment, this group of people who had come to Xiao Yan's door were the members of the younger generation who had come into contact with Xiao Yan back in the Xiao clan. With Xiao Xiaojun at the lead, Xiao Lei, Xiao Zhuobin, and the others were all present. Even Xiao Tian, who had always been at odds with Xiao Yan, had appeared. Chapter 15-20. Everyone was seated in the living room. Xiao Yan smiled as he looked at the people present. A look of admiration surged into his eyes. Everyone's cultivation had increased significantly after the clan sacrifice. Xiao Lei and Xiao Zhuobin had already stepped into the 7-star source ancestor realm, and even Xiao Feng had reached the early 7-star source ancestor realm. Xiao Xiu had reached the 8-star source ancestor realm, and the strongest person present, Xiao Xiaojun, was approaching the peak of the late 9-star source ancestor realm. Xiao Yan believed that he would be able to take that step in less than 3 years and become a source venerate. As for the person whose cultivation had increased the most amongst everyone present, my old man said yesterday that my strength had increased by quite a bit. Do you want to have a go with me? You weren't around for the past 2 years, so there wasn't anyone in the clan who could fight with me. Xiao Linger sat on a chair, her jade-like hands cupping her delicate cheeks as she stared at Xiao Yan with a hopeful expression. Xiao Yan smiled embarrassedly, then shook his head with a bitter smile. This girl's temperament was indeed a little wild, but her cultivation talent could be described as terrifying. In a short 2 years, even if it was because of the clan's sacrifice, this girl's cultivation had jumped from the 2-star source ancestor realm to the 6-star source ancestor realm, an increase of 4 stars. From a certain point of view, such a terrifying increase was even faster than him relying on devouring heavenly flames to increase his cultivation. Don't underestimate this girl. Ever since the clan's sacrifice, she has caused quite a bit of trouble for us. All of us here have been beaten up by her twice. You met Xiao Yang on your way back, right? With that guy's current strength, even we have to retreat a little if he goes all out. However, in this girl's hands, we don't even have the chance to retaliate. Seeing Xiao Linger's eager appearance, Xiao Lei and the others looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Ever since Xiao Linger was defeated by Xiao Yang during the clan gathering, every time the young girl's cultivation improved, she would take the initiative to challenge them. However, as long as she was defeated, the young girl's depressed mood would immediately change direction and she would direct her rage towards them. With this girl's status in the clan, aside from Xiao Xiaojun, Xiao Feng, and Xiao Xiaojun, the others could only be bullied by her. Half a year ago, she had entered a 6-star source sect and was under the personal control of the Great Elder. Only then did she become much more well-behaved. Xiao Yan couldn't help but be speechless when he heard this. He looked at Xiao Linger who was opposite him and pointed her nose at Xiao Lei and the others with a proud expression. She lightly raised her jade finger and a thin ribbon flew up, twisting like a spirit snake. Xiao Yan instantly went silent when he saw this. Xiao Xiaojun smiled and glanced at Huarong and Huarong who were seated beside Xiao Yan. A bright light flashed in the depths of his eyes as he slowly said, compared to us staying within the clan, I think that cousin brother Xiao Yan's trip can be considered to have gained a lot. Let's not talk about the 2 additional companions. Your cultivation seems to have reached that of a 7-star source, right? The expressions of everyone present instantly changed when these words were spoken, and when they saw Xiao Yan nod his head in confirmation, their eyes revealed astonishment. Probably, intermediate 7-star source sect. Whoosh! Everyone present instantly went into an uproar when these words were spoken. Xiao Lei and the others had expressions as if they were looking at a monster. It was very difficult to imagine exactly what Xiao Yan had encountered in the past 2 years to actually be able to raise his cultivation so quickly. After all, even Xiao Jun, a publicly acknowledged genius of the Xiao clan, had similarly relied on the power of the clan's sacrifice to raise his strength to the peak of the source sect in 2 years. However, Xiao Yan's results were something that no one dared to imagine. Hee, come. Let's fight. Let's fight. At this moment, Xiao Linger was probably the only person in the hall who was still in high spirits after learning that Xiao Yan's cultivation had increased. The excitement in the little girl's eyes grew even denser. Her delicate figure jumped down from the chair and charged towards Xiao Yan. Fortunately, Xiao Jun, who was behind her, had sharp eyes and nimble hands. He grabbed the ribbon around the young girl's body and pulled her back. At the same time, he lightly patted her head and reprimanded in a soft voice. Little girl, you only know how to fight all day long. Behave yourself. After speaking, he immediately threw the young girl out of the hall under everyone's stunned gazes. No matter how furious her face was, there was nothing she could do. Without the young miss in the hall, the atmosphere naturally became much quieter. After chatting with a few people, Xiao Yan also learned that Xiao Ming had left the clan. However, according to Xiao Jun, there were only a few people in the clan who knew the details. In addition, the final result of the battle between Xiao Etian and Ouyang Yu more than a year ago was that Ouyang Yu had returned to the clan. In that battle, he had lost both of his arms. However, Xiao Etian's whereabouts were unknown. The upper echelons of the clan also did not give any relevant answers. Everyone sat and chatted for a long time. After they left, the huge courtyard once again became empty and quiet. After chatting for a while, Xiao Yan learned about many changes in the Xiao clan in recent years. He also learned some secrets about the central region. If this information was spread to the outside world, there would definitely be very few people who knew about it. Only in this huge clan could one know a little about it. When he thought about how the central region, which seemed peaceful on the surface, was actually filled with fierce undercurrents and unforeseen events, Xiao Yan's heart could not help but be slightly agitated. If he wanted to establish a foothold in the central region in the future, he probably could no longer rely on his own strength. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Ever since the news of Xiao Yan's return to the Xiao clan spread, the inner sect elders, who usually held high positions, rushed to Xiao Yan's courtyard one after another in the following days. In particular, those who knew that Xiao Jun and the others had gathered to visit Xiao Yan came in an endless stream to befriend them. Other than a portion that could be easily dismissed, the remaining few old antiques, even Xiao Jun, stepped forward to chat with Xiao Yan. It was only when Xiao Xian stepped forward and blocked those fellows behind him that Xiao Yan's subsequent days finally became idle. Usually, he would accompany the 2 girls in his family to play all over the place. As he sensed the fresh and elegant atmosphere among the young ladies, he appeared to have become much younger. In the hall, Xiao Yan slowly withdrew his hand from Bai Hua's wrist. His furrowed brows did not loosen for a long time. The worry in his heart grew even more grave. During the many recent investigations, Xiao Yan was able to clearly sense that the black-colored strength within Bai Hua's body might be suppressed by Xiao Xian's formation, but it was ultimately unable to completely seal it. Bai Hua's spiritual essence was still being swallowed by that strength at an extremely slow pace. Even the suppressive effect of the transforming pill ring was becoming increasingly difficult. Chapter 1521. The suppressive effect of the melting pill ring was getting weaker and weaker. To be safe, Xiao Yan had refined some pills during this period. With the help of external forces, it was indeed effective in temporarily guiding the black energy to devour its target. However, the result of this method was that it directly led to the rapid growth of the black energy. It was not difficult to imagine how miserable the result would be if one consumed pills to suppress it for a long period of time. Faced with such a frightening potential danger, Bai Hua merely smiled. Back then, he did not expect that a useless medicinal pill would actually evolve into such a state. However, during these 2 years, he had gradually gotten used to this kind of feeling. Although this caused him to be unable to train for a long time, at the very least, the current him would no longer cause any trouble for Xiao Yan. Currently, the only thing that could cause him to be reluctant to part with it was that stupid girl who liked to pester him. Looking at Xiao Yan, who had an ugly expression on his face, Bai Hua withdrew her thoughts and slowly stood up. She patted the former's shoulder and sighed deeply, saying, "Don't worry. It's not the first day or two. She won't die for the time being." Hearing this, Xiao Yan paused for a moment. Immediately, his attitude changed as he laughed. He curled his mouth and said, "Don't worry. With me here, I will definitely not let anything happen to you." After his voice faded, Xiao Yan said a few more words to Bai Hua. Then, he left the courtyard and entered the hidden sky pavilion after a round of turnover. Now that things had developed to this point, Xiao Yan was unable to do anything to the black strength by relying on his own tactics. All he could do now was to gamble within the inner sky pavilion and hope that the rich collection of the Xiao clan would be able to find something that he needed. Unfortunately, the situation in Bai Hua's body was unusual. After a round of searching, even with the rich collection of the Xiao clan, he still could not find any specific useful information. Now, it seemed that he could only bet all his hopes on the heaven-questioning pill. At the back mountain of the Xiao clan. At this moment, it had been almost 3 months since Xiao Yan had returned to the clan. Ever since the matter with Bai Hua had been fruitless, Xiao Yan had decisively invested all of his time into training. As a result, his strength after his breakthrough was consolidated. Xiao Yan sat on the cliff and sensed the surging energy flowing through the veins within his body. He involuntarily recalled the battle with Bai Rong's group back then. At that time, he had been imprisoned and was in a passive position. Even with the help of a secret technique, he was only able to barely block the other party's attacks. If one were to carefully consider it, with his current strength, he could reach the level of a 9-star source zone after using the secret technique. If one were to include the 6 heavenly flames in his hand and the angry Buddha lotus flame that he unleashed with all his strength, Xiao Yan was confident that no one below the level of a Yuan Zun would be able to survive. Phew, Xiao Yan exhaled a long breath after thinking about it in his heart. His body trembled slightly. When he stood up, a green-clothed figure swiftly shot over from the sky above the sea of trees in front of him. After which, the figure stood in the empty space opposite of Xiao Yan. "Ancestor, why have you come?" Ever since he had returned to the Xiao clan, Xiao Xian had been dealing with matters related to the Zhao clan. Hence, the two of them rarely met. Whenever Xiao Xian appeared, he would basically help Xiao Yan block some trouble. However, looking at his smiling appearance today, it didn't seem like it. "I'm here to inform you of a piece of news." "No, you can't do that, Great Elder." At the same time, somewhere in the back mountain of the Xiao clan, Xiao Dingtian shouted in an extremely agitated tone. His expression was rather gloomy. Even if he has returned to the clan and the Xiao clan acknowledges his existence, how can the clan's rules be changed because of him? Xiao Zhen narrowed his old eyes and stared at Xiao Dingtian before him. "But this is what he deserves. Back then, you guys kept pushing him. The patriarch and I gave in time and time again because of your many years of contributions to the family. That's what led to this outcome. In the end, we owe him this." Xiao Zhen gritted his teeth with an ugly expression. He pondered for a moment before speaking again. "No matter what, according to the clan's rules, the ancestral hall will only be opened once every 20 years. If it is opened earlier, the sacred blood crystal will definitely be affected. That is the foundation of the Xiao clan." "Fool. The continuation of the clan depends on the people. Although the sacred blood crystal is precious, it still contains the bloodline of a human. If we can use it to strengthen the Shao clan, it will be a good use. Otherwise, what's the point of its existence? Shao Zhen raised his eyebrows, and there was a hint of disappointment in his eyes. Even until now, Shao Dingtian was still so pedantic. When Shao Dingtian heard these words, he became silent for a moment. He hesitated for a moment before he raised his head and spoke to Shao Zhen with determination. But this matter is related to the clan's reputation. He has just returned. He has no aptitude and no achievements. We can't possibly pull down the entire clan's reputation just for him, right? If we can't even keep our own family members, what's the use of our reputation? Shao Zhen rebuked angrily. His domineering attitude made Shao Dingtian lower his head with a gloomy expression. Shao Zhen then slowly exhaled and said, in addition, according to special permission, Shao Yang and Shao Yan will participate in the clan's sacrifice together. Shao Yang? That fellow. This is the ancestors' decision. We only need to follow it. Shao Dingtian was about to refute, but Shao Zhen mentioned the ancestor. Shao Dingtian immediately became dejected. On the other side. Clan sacrifice? Hearing Shao Xian's words, Shao Yan was a little surprised. He knew quite a bit about the clan sacrifice back then. Naturally, he knew that according to the normal clan rules, the clan sacrifice would only be held once every 20 years. Other than the time for the younger generation to grow, the energy needed to complete the clan's sacrifice would also slowly recover during this period of time. However, Shao Yan didn't expect the Shao clan's upper echelons to make such a decision. In less than 2 years, they were going to hold another clan sacrifice for him. It's not just for you. Shao Yang will be participating with you this time. Hearing this, Shao Yan was a little surprised for a moment. Then, he suddenly understood and nodded. That was true. After all, that fellow's perseverance was seen by everyone. Now that the clan allowed him to participate in the clan's sacrifice, it could be considered as compensation for neglecting him for so many years. If that's the case, when will the clan's sacrifice be held this time? Withdrawing his thoughts, Shao Yan's eyes were filled with a fiery passion as he asked in doubt. Shao Xian smiled at Shao Yan and said, if you are willing, you can do it any time. I'm afraid I can't do it now. However, just as he finished speaking, a figure quickly appeared in the void not far away from him. The person was wearing a luxurious robe. It was the clan leader, Shao Yuheng. Hearing the former's words, Shao Yan and Shao Xian looked at each other. Then, their gazes fell on Shao Yuheng. Shao Yuheng frowned and sighed. He took a deep look at Shao Yan before shifting his gaze to Shao Xian and slowly said, the Bai clan has come. Someone from the Bai clan has come and requested for Shao Yan to be handed over. Chapter 1522. Bai clan? Shao Yan and Shao Xian were stunned when they heard Shao Yuheng's words. Soon after, a cold glint flashed across their eyes. Shao Yuheng nodded slightly and said softly, there are a lot of people here. And there are quite a lot of people here. Even the head of the Bai family is here. Things are getting a little tricky. What about the father of the 2 brothers? Looks like Bai Zijing has not given up. He has even brought along the head of the clan. He wants you to pay with your life for his sons. Shao Xian was expressionless. However, there was a sharp sword aura gathering in his eyes. Shao Yan smiled. His finger gently flicked his sleeves as he coldly said, let's go. You want to go? They are here for you. As long as you don't show up, even the Bai clan can't barge into our Shao clan. However, if you go... clan head, since they have come knocking on our door, there is no reason to avoid them. If I really do that, won't it show that our Shao clan is at a disadvantage? If they want to take my life, they should see if they have the ability to do so. After he spoke, he took the lead and flew toward the entrance of the Shao clan. Behind him, Shao Yuheng frowned and looked at Shao Xian. When he saw the latter's calm face, he withdrew the worry on his face and quickly followed. Halfway through, a group of people quickly flew in front of Shao Yan. At a closer look, it was Xiao Jun and the other younger generation of the Xiao clan. When he saw them, Xiao Yan was slightly stunned and asked doubtfully, "Why are you here? Why are you here?" "Huh, we have heard about the matter. The Bai clan wants to touch the people of our Xiao clan. They should be clear about whose territory this is. With us around, they will not be able to touch a single hair on your head." Xiao Jun laughed out loud in a forthright manner. The group of people behind him immediately responded in unison. That kind of aggressive manner appeared a little overbearing. Xiao Yan's heart moved slightly when he saw this. He ceased being courteous. With a wave of his large hand, he decisively led these people and hurried to Xiao City. At the same time, two groups of people stood in the sky above Xiao City. One group was led by the sixth elder of the Xiao clan, Xiao Yuehua, while the other group was led by a middle-aged man in a brocade robe. Behind him was a group of nearly 100 people. Everyone stood in a forest, and their imposing aura filled the sky above Xiao City, causing many people in the city to have a slight change in expression. Looking at the posture of these people, one could tell at a glance that they were not ordinary people. To be able to appear in the Xiao clan region with such fanfare, they most likely did not come with good intentions. These people seemed to be from the Bai clan. The young man beside the leader seems to be the eldest son of the Bai clan, Bai Zijing. Humph, how ignorant. Bai Zijing travels the continent and knows a lot of people, but the person in front of him is the real elder. Bai Zijing's father is also the patriarch of the Bai clan, Bai Haotong. He's a source venerate. Source venerate? Such an elite has personally appeared in the Xiao clan. What is he trying to do? I heard that Bai Zijing brought a group of people into the fire banyan relic some time ago, but he was the only one who came out alive. Now, it seems that he has some connections with the Xiao clan, while everyone in the city below was whispering. Bai Haotong, who was in the sky, swept his cold gaze across the group of elders of the Xiao clan. Finally, his gaze stopped on Xiao Yuehua. A rather oppressive aura spread out in front of her. Soon after, he said in a deep voice, "I don't have much patience. Are you going to hand over the person I want or not?" Facing Bai Haotong's oppressive aura, Xiao Yuehua raised her eyebrows and snorted coldly. She took a step forward, and an invisible ripple spread out in an instant, dispersing the pressure. She coldly said, "Patriarch Bai, I don't care if what you said is true or false. You came to the Xiao clan just because something happened to your Bai clan. What kind of place do you think the Xiao clan is?" "Xiao Yuehua, I don't want to make things difficult for the Xiao clan, but my son died at Xiao Yan's hands, and I will personally take revenge. As long as you hand over Xiao Yan, I will leave with my men." Bai Haotong coldly stared at the woman opposite him. His chilling words caused the woman to snort coldly. "I said earlier that Xiao Yan left the Xiao clan 2 years ago. If you want to find him, go somewhere else. The Xiao clan doesn't have the person you want." Once she finished speaking, Xiao Yuehua waved her sleeve. She turned around and shouted coldly, "Send the guest off." These words caused Bai Haotong's expression to darken. His venomous gaze stared at Xiao Yuehua's figure as she turned around. Anger immediately surged in his heart as he flicked his wrist under his sleeve. Genesis Chi gathered in his palm as his figure instantly disappeared from the spot. "You don't want to hand him over?" Soon after, a furious cry was heard from behind Xiao Yuehua. The elders of the Xiao clan, who were facing Bai Haotong, fell into the city due to the latter's powerful charge. They charged towards Xiao Yuehua like a hot knife through butter. "Bai Haotong, don't you dare. This is the Xiao clan." Xiao Yuehua was enraged by Bai Haotong's ferocious attitude. She fiercely waved her hand, and a whip appeared in her hand. Genesis Chi shot out to meet Bai Haotong's attack. "Xiao Yan killed my son and elders of my clan. If you don't hand him over today, no one will be able to live in peace." Thud. Xiao Yuehua was instantly pushed back. Bai Haotong was a 7-star origin venerate, and there were very few people of the same cultivation level who could match him. It was indeed a little difficult for Xiao Yuehua, who was only a 3-star origin venerate. After a few exchanges, Xiao Yuehua was no match for Bai Haotong. She was blasted back by a single attack, causing the qi and blood in her body to churn violently. Bai Haotong seemed to have grasped this opportunity. His hand transformed into a claw as Genesis qi gushed out and viciously slashed at Xiao Yuehua's chest. Clang! The cry of a diamond rang out, and piercingly cold sword qi immediately surged to the sides, blocking the Shao clan members behind it like an invisible curtain. Bai Haotong quickly retreated, and his expression darkened as he looked towards a certain spot in the air. A figure in an azure robe had appeared. It was Xiao Xian, who had arrived just in time. What domineering sword qi! Bai Haotong looked at the sword scar on his palm as amazement surged in his heart. Although the person before him was far inferior to him in terms of cultivation, the sword aura that covered his body was something that even the person from the Ouyang clan could not compare to. When did such a person appear in the Shao clan? Just as he was secretly bewildered, Bai Zijing quickly flew forward and whispered into his ear. Immediately after, a ferocious expression appeared on his face. He suddenly raised his gaze, and the killing intent in his eyes gradually grew stronger as he looked at Xiao Xian, who was protecting Xiao Yuehua, and said in a deep voice, "Xiao Xian, Xiao Yuehua. Is it you who killed Bai Rong?" Chapter 1523. The word harm isn't appropriate. Bai Rong is the harm, and I only counterattacked. Xiao Xian said as he looked at Bai Haotong with a smile. So you're admitting it? Bai Haotong's face grew increasingly dark as he stared at Xiao Xian. The Genesis qi in his body was on the verge of erupting. I see that you don't intend to deny the fact that you attacked first. Xiao Xian mocked with a smile. Bai Haotong's face twitched slightly, and he immediately snorted coldly. His figure abruptly shot towards Xiao Xian. The space in front of Xiao Xian rapidly distorted, and a palm met Bai Haotong's attack. When the two attacks collided, Bai Haotong retreated with a grave expression, and Xiao Yuheng's figure appeared in the sky above Xiao City. Hua! Seeing this scene in the sky, an uproar immediately sounded in the city. In just a moment, several big shots that were rarely seen on normal days had appeared in the sky above Xiao City. It was really surprising. We haven't seen each other for many years. Why is Patriarch Bai so angry when we meet? Xiao Yuheng withdrew his hand and looked at the person opposite him with a smile. His eyes were rather calm. Less nonsense. Xiao Yuheng, you have also heard it just now. This thief has personally admitted that he killed Bai Rong. Even my son has died in Xiao Yan's hands. Today, no matter how you quibble, you must hand these two people over. Bai Haotong's gaze swept past Xiao Yuheng and stared at Xiao Xian behind him. Xiao Xian frowned slightly, and after pondering for a moment, he said, Patriarch Bai, although I don't know the ins and outs of this matter, I know one thing. The central region is vast, and it is inevitable that clansmen will be injured when they go out. If you want the head of the Shao clan's inner pavilion to pay for the life of an elder of your Bai clan because of a few words from you, isn't that too much? Bai Haotong's expression immediately changed when he heard those words. His mind became slightly solemn. He did not know that the person behind Xiao Yuheng actually had such an identity. As the clan leader of the Bai clan, he naturally knew some information about the Shao clan. Being in charge of the inner cabinet, his status was not much lower than the clan leaders. If anyone wanted to touch him, the entire Shao clan would not let the matter rest. After hesitating for a long time, Bai Haotong could only gnash his teeth and turn his gaze towards Xiao Yan. I can treat the matter of Bai Rong as a result of him not being as skilled as others. However, you must hand Xiao Yan over. Only by doing so will there be some leeway for today's matter to be resolved. Otherwise, do not blame me for not thinking about the friendship of our clan. Many of the Shao clan's older generation members couldn't help but change their expressions. Bai Haotong's threat was very strong. What he meant was that the Shao clan had to make a choice between handing over Xiao Yan and starting a war with the Bai clan. Once the Shao clan chose to forcefully protect Xiao Yan, it would be difficult for the two clans to get along in the future. Does Patriarch Bai think that there is no one in the Shao clan who can match up to him? Xiao Yuheng sneered. As his figure flashed, Xiao Xian and Xiao Yuehua appeared at his sides. The three of them stood in a row in front of Bai Haotong. At the same time, two gray-robed elders from the Bai clan frowned slightly and appeared beside Bai Haotong. Immediately, the 6 source venerables faced each other in the air. Father's words couldn't be more correct. Just as everyone's expressions changed, a group of Shao clan's juniors flew over from afar. In the blink of an eye, they arrived in front of everyone. Bai Zijing and the others' gazes immediately fell on the 2 people leading the group. It was Xiao Yan and Xiao Xiaojun. Xiao Xiaojun's gaze swept across the Bai clan's members calmly. Finally, his gaze landed on Bai Haotong as he slowly said, "Patriarch Bai, although the Shao clan has been quiet in recent years, it has not reached the point where we can be trampled on by others. If you think that the Shao clan is easy to bully, then go ahead and start a war. However, if you want to beat someone up in front of their home and demand an apology, you should ask them if they agree." Xiao Xiaojun let out a loud cry at the end of his words. He waved his hand and angrily pointed at the members of the Shao clan behind him. Immediately, all the members of the younger generation behind Xiao Yan suddenly let out an explosive cry. A majestic aura suddenly shot to the sky as they stepped forward. This unyielding attitude caused the surrounding experts of the older generation to become excited. This matter concerned the dignity of their clans, so they would naturally not hesitate. Immediately, they looked at each other and saw a wisp of burning desire in each other's eyes. Soon after, accompanied by a roar, all the Shao clan's experts stirred the Genesis Chi in their bodies. Pillars of energy soared into the sky as mottled colors converged. Everyone's aura and pressure twisted together, like an invisible giant beast occupying the sky above Shao City. The terrifying power made everyone's expression change. Even Bai Haotong and the others, who were hovering in the sky, wore grave expressions. Although the Bai clan and the Shao clan were on par with each other in the middle region, only they knew the true strength of the 2 clans. Once the Bai clan declared war with the Shao clan because of this matter, the Bai clan would suffer a great loss regardless of the outcome. At that time, it was likely that others would be able to reap the benefits. At the same time, Xiao Yan lifted his head to look at the powerful pressure in the sky, and the pressure in his heart lessened significantly. It was only at this moment that he truly felt that he was a member of the Shao clan. Seeing that the Shao clan's experts had made their stance clear, the Bai clan's members were in a dilemma. Bai Haotong's face alternated between green and white. His gaze swept back and forth between Xiao Yan and the 3 people opposite him as thoughts spun rapidly in his mind. At this moment, Xiao Yan was already within reach. If he could instantly attack and kill Xiao Yan, the Shao clan would not easily start a war with the Bai clan over a dead person regardless of how furious they were once Xiao Yan died. However, Xiao Yuheng's group on the other side was currently a problem. Even with his cultivation, it was impossible for him to kill Xiao Yan before they could intercept him. In this way, the current situation had become a deadlock. A moment later, while both parties were in a deadlock, Bai Zijing, who had been staring intently at Xiao Yan, finally stepped forward and stood between Bai Haotong and the Shao clan. His eyes, which were filled with murderous intent, had never left Xiao Yan. "Xiao Yan, since we can't kill you in the grand scheme of things, let us settle this ourselves." A ferocious smile surged onto Bai Zijing's face. His eyes glanced at Shao City below. After seeing the hopeful eyes of the city, a dark and cold cry suddenly resounded in the sky above the city. "Xiao Yan from the Shao clan, you killed my brother and killed an elder of my clan. Today, I, Bai Zijing, as the young clan leader of the Bai clan, will have a decisive battle with you. Do you dare to accept the challenge?" An uproar immediately arose in the city below when these words were spoken. At the same time, the expressions of the experts from both parties in the sky changed. Even Xiao Yan himself couldn't help but be a little stunned at this moment. His eyes exchanged glances with Xiao Xiaojun, who had a strange expression on his face. Subsequently, he looked at Bai Zijing opposite him and curled his lips. "You have invited me to a battle in public. If I don't accept, I'm afraid that I will embarrass the Shao clan in front of everyone. Since this is the case, your challenge, I accept. P.S. The update will begin at 11 a.m. tomorrow. 2 chapters will be updated normally and 10 chapters will be supplemented. A total of 12 chapters will be updated every half an hour and will end at 4:30 p.m. Reader group here, 476668761. Chapter 1524. The ferocious smile on Bai Zijing's face became even denser as he watched Xiao Yan calmly accept the challenge. His eyes immediately turned around and looked at Bai Haotong by the side with a confident face. At this moment, the latter's eyes also contained some surprise as he looked at Xiao Yan. With his strength, he was naturally able to tell that Xiao Yan in front of him possessed the cultivation of a 7-star origin sect. Such a strength was something that very few people of the same generation could compare with. A thought flashed across Bai Haotong's mind as he coldly glanced at Xiao Yan. He then waved his sleeve and gestured for the 2 people beside him to back away, leaving the space in front of them to Bai Zijing. At the same time, Xiao Yan also slowly stepped forward. Behind him, Xiao Xiaojun and the rest looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with ridicule when they looked at Bai Zijing. "Let's back off as well." Xiao Xian smiled as he spoke. He nodded with Xiao Yuheng by the side and withdrew. Only Xiao Yuehua frowned slightly. Her eyes revealed a worried expression. Although she had heard of some of Xiao Yan's battle results, Bai Zijing from the Bai clan's current cultivation was also a little strange. However, he still clenched his teeth and withdrew after seeing the 2 people beside him withdraw. Xiao Yuehua's expression changed slightly. A mocking smile appeared on the faces of the Bai clan's experts when they saw that the Xiao clan had indeed given up the battlefield. They were naturally well aware of Bai Zijing's battle strength. Among the younger generation of the 3 great clans, only the Xiao clan's young master Xiao could match up to him. Now that Xiao Yan had accepted the challenge, it was no different from seeking death. Bai Haotong narrowed his eyes as he stared intently at Xiao Yan. Although he was a little surprised by the actions of the members of the Xiao clan, it was impossible for him to misjudge Xiao Yan's cultivation of a 7-star source sect. "In my opinion, why don't we just leave it at that?" While Xiao Yan and Bai Zijing were facing off, Bai Haotong's eyes rotated as he suddenly spoke. Everyone's gazes instantly gathered on him. Since this is a decisive battle, the result of this battle will be life and death. The experts from both sides will not interfere. After this battle, the grudges between my son and I will be written off. The members of the Xiao clan looked at each other in dismay. Many strange gazes were directed at the members of the Bai clan. Xiao Yuheng opened his mouth slightly, sighed softly, and replied coldly, "That's right. Since you insist, then do as you please." Bai Haotong and Bai Zijing looked at each other. They both saw coldness in each other's eyes. The latter turned around and looked at Xiao Yan again. Killing intent surged in his eyes. "Xiao Yan, you've been lucky enough to survive time and time again. Today, I'd like to see who can save you." With regards to this, Xiao Yan did not comment. He waved his hand fiercely and the huge dark heavy buster sword landed in his hand. The tip of the buster sword rotated slightly and the raging flames immediately climbed up. From the looks of it, the Bai clan was clearly determined to kill him. Since that was the case, there was naturally no need to hold back. Everything would be settled as quickly as possible. Bai Zijing involuntarily let out a laugh when he saw Xiao Yan take out a weapon without any hesitation. He recalled how Xiao Yan had been chased by him like a dog that had lost its home in the fire banyan forest back then. Xiao Yan had been chased by him until he did not have the ability to retaliate. In the end, Xiao Yan had merely relied on a couple of tricks to escape. Now that the 2 of them were facing each other head-on, Bai Zijing's heart was completely confident that he could kill the latter. With a flip of his wrist, a blue longbow immediately appeared in his hand. As he swung it, Genesis Chi surged through the meridians in his body, and a tyrannical pressure swiftly unfurled from Bai Zijing's body. Buzz! Xiao Yan, along with Xiao Xiaojun and the others behind him, raised their eyebrows when they sensed this aura. Their eyes contained surprise as they looked at Bai Zijing. 9-star origin sect? Xiao Yan raised his brows. Soon after, his expression turned into an icy smile. No wonder Bai Zijing had challenged him in public. It turns out that Bai Zijing had encountered some miraculous encounters in less than half a year. Even though this was the case, the expressions of the members of the Shao clan behind did not stir much of a ripple. The strength of the 9-star origin zone might be quite strong, but they might not be optimistic about a variable like Shao Yan. After all, even members of the Shao clan like them were unable to see Shao Yan's true fighting strength. If the two of them were to really fight, Bai Zijing's chances of victory might not even reach 50%. While Shao Yan and Bai Zijing were locked in a stalemate in the sky, a wave of noise soared into the sky from the city below. The name of the Bai clan's Bai Zijing could be considered one of the top members of the younger generation in the middle region. This was especially the case within the 3 large clans. There were naturally many people who understood him. Hence, when everyone saw that Bai Zijing had bumped into Shao Yan, many sighs were emitted from their mouths. Their eyes involuntarily contained an additional regret when they looked at Shao Yan. Bai Zijing drew his bow and nocked an arrow. As his Genesis chi gathered, an icy chuckle was spat out. You didn't expect this, did you? You stole my Limestone Valley's blessing, but still failed to surpass me. Back then, you were like a stray dog in my hands. Even now, this fact has not changed. Noisy. Shao Yan let out a cold snort when he heard this. His feet suddenly stomped on empty air and a frightening strength shattered the empty air. His body used this to shoot forward. In the blink of an eye, he had already appeared in front of Bai Zijing. The arrow that the latter had shot out was shattered by Shao Yan's strength. At the same time that Bai Zijing's body flew back, he used the longbow in his hand to hack at Shao Yan's head. However, it was violently shaken by the enormous ruler in Shao Yan's hand. A frightening large force immediately attacked. The web between the thumb and index finger of Bai Zijing's left hand, which was holding the bow, immediately cracked. Even his entire arm swiftly became numb. What astonishing strength! With an ugly expression, Bai Zijing mobilized his Genesis chi to quickly break the force invading his body. When he lifted his head, Shao Yan's figure had already disappeared like a ghost. He disappeared? The expressions of quite a number of people present involuntarily changed when they saw Shao Yan's body disappear in such a strange manner. Immediately, numerous gazes that were filled with surprise began to patrol all over the place. Humph, I caught you. But in the next moment, Bai Zijing's gaze rapidly swept around. Soon after, he curled his lips and let out a disdainful snort. He drew his bow to a full crescent and unhesitatingly shot an arrow at a certain spot behind him. Parting arrow. Chi. Just as Bai Zijing's arrow shot toward the void, 3 balls of flames suddenly appeared in the originally calm void. A terrifying aura also rose abruptly. Immediately after, a palm pierced through the void and pierced through the 3 balls of flames. The moment it clenched its fist, a shocking aura that was not inferior to the former erupted without reservation. Chapter 1525. A shocking force erupted. The arrow that was shot toward Shao Yan's face was also shattered by the might of a punch from Shao Yan, who had revealed himself soon after. Break. Shao Yan's fist, which was covered by a flame, shattered the arrow that was shot over. He slowly raised his eyes and his cold and stern gaze looked directly at Bai Zijing on the opposite side. His body shook gently and a circular flame ripple immediately swept over the sky. The expressions of those who sensed this chi changed. 9-star source sect. Shock filled the eyes of the Bai clan experts when they sensed the sudden surge of aura from Shao Yan's body. Patriarch, this isn't good, shut up. An elder beside Bai Haotong frowned deeply when the former interrupted him. His calm gaze paused on Shao Yan and Bai Zijing for a brief moment before he took in a deep breath and slowly said, I never expected this kid to have such a trump card. I really never imagined that this kid actually possessed such a trump card and relied on a secret technique to actually forcefully close the gap in cultivation between him and Zijing. But it's still early, and based on his appearance, he ought to have expected this since long ago, so there's nothing to make a fuss about. Is it another secret technique? Bai Zijing sneered and shook his head. You want to end this quickly? That's good too. My hatred for you has already reached the point where I hate you. A sinister look flashed in Bai Zijing's eyes. He took in a deep breath as his hands rapidly formed a series of seals. As the seals in Bai Zijing's hands changed, waves of majestic dark blue Genesis chi continuously gushed out from his body, transforming into a giant waterspout around him. An astonishing suction force rapidly extended from within, and the energy of the universe frantically rushed towards Bai Zijing's body under the suction force. Xiao Yan, be careful. This guy has some tricks up his sleeve. Once he uses it, he will be able to forcefully absorb the surrounding energy for a short period of time, raising his strength by around 1 star. When Xiao Jun, who was not far behind, saw Bai Zijing's attitude, the expression on his face changed slightly. His anxious reminder had just sounded when Bai Zijing emitted a ferocious voice that caused the heavens and the earth to tremble. Xiao Yan, I will make you pay a painful price for everything you've done today. As the Genesis chi in his body swiftly soared, a savage smile involuntarily surfaced from the corner of Bai Zijing's mouth. After using the secret technique, his strength had already reached the peak of the origin zone level. There was basically no one below the origin venerate level who was a match for him. Xiao Yan was no exception. Kill. A low roar that was filled with killing intent was spat out from Bai Zijing's throat. His body suddenly disappeared from the spot. An instant later, the sound of rushing air suddenly exploded beside Xiao Yan's ear. Bai Zijing's whipping legs suddenly appeared beside Xiao Yan's body. Xiao Yan subconsciously extended his hand to block it. However, other than the firm strength, the natural energy that surged like a tide over the sky violently struck Xiao Yan's body like a sea wave. Xiao Yan's expression changed. Bang! Xiao Yan's body was sent flying 100 feet. When he lifted his head, Bai Zijing's figure was already charging towards him again. Clang! However, this time around, Bai Zijing's heavy punch was forcefully blocked by the giant metal body that Xiao Yan had transformed into with just one palm. The surrounding natural energy that wildly swept over was completely transformed into nothingness under the burning of the heavenly flame. Xiao Yan's sharp gaze stared intently at Bai Zijing in front of him, allowing the storm that was stirred by this attack to wreak havoc in the sky. Even with the help of the secret art, your strength is still that of a 9-star Genesis ancestor. There's nothing to be proud of. Humph, is that so? Bai Zijing's expression did not change. His fist, which was in close contact with Xiao Yan's hand, shook with great force. His body immediately flashed back. Soon after, his fist turned into a palm. In an instant, the natural energy suddenly rotated and gathered. A wave of frightening energy wave was agglomerated in his palm. Raging waves of the sea. Powerful Genesis chi surged out, turning into an overwhelming wave of energy in the blink of an eye. With a terrifying power that could kill, it viciously blasted towards Xiao Yan. 7-layer Heaven Breaker Ruler. Xiao Yan was completely fearless in the face of Bai Zijing's attack. His golden body dissipated, and he swung the heavy black ruler in his hand. Genesis chi frantically poured out from his body, rapidly withdrawing the flames that covered the giant ruler. Scarlet red light pulsed from the giant ruler, and the tyrannical flame energy caused the space around Xiao Yan to distort uncontrollably. Such a ferocious aura caused Bai Zijing to be slightly taken aback. For some reason, the heavenly fire aura in Xiao Yan's body seemed to have become much more terrifying than before. However, before he could ponder any further, a majestic ruler light shot out from Xiao Yan's giant ruler. Bang! The powerful ruler light collided with the arrow, and the latter's astonishing power naturally easily neutralized the power of the ruler light. But then, one after another, startling ruler light rapidly shot out in front of Xiao Yan. The giant ruler flipped in the air, and one ruler light after another converged into the first ruler light. When the 9th ruler light shot out, the energy undulations at the point of collision grew increasingly intense, and then... buzz! Amidst a soul-shaking buzzing sound, the astonishing wave in the sky and the ruler light were both annihilated. Terrifying energy ripples suddenly unfurled, and the surrounding space, which had yet to recover, was once again shattered into nothingness. The energy storm swept apart in the sky. The two people in the square also swiftly retreated under the collision of this energy. The remaining ripples in the sky had yet to scatter. However, at this moment, a threatening voice suddenly erupted from Bai Zijing's mouth. Deep sea abyss. Monstrous Genesis Chi gathered around Xiao Yan in the blink of an eye. Bai Zijing rapidly formed a seal with his hands, and the deep blue Genesis Chi immediately condensed into water and wrapped around Xiao Yan, forming a giant water ball. As the water ball rapidly shrank, a terrifying oppressive force, as though he was standing in the deep sea, assaulted Xiao Yan's body. Under this powerful pressure, not only space, but even the bones in Xiao Yan's body emitted a low sound of collision. His movements, breathing, and even the flow of Genesis Chi in his body were greatly affected at this moment. Ha! An explosive cry was emitted from Xiao Yan's throat. His body shook in a wild, bright red flame swiftly surged out of his body. In the blink of an eye, it covered his body and agglomerated into a magma armor. Following the continuous eruption of wave after wave of bright red magma, the vast water region that had agglomerated around his body was forcefully vaporized under the might of the heavenly flame. The instant Xiao Yan raised his head, Bai Zijing pulled his bow and released an arrow. The sound of air being split apart came from the front. Xiao Yan's body hurriedly dodged and narrowly dodged the arrow that was shot toward his face. Even though this was the case, his left shoulder was still shot, leaving behind a soul-sucking arrow wound. Bai Zijing drew his bow again, and a chilling snort slowly sounded. I have to admit that your combat strength is indeed beyond my expectations. However, if it's only at this level, there's no need for this battle to continue. Is that so? Amidst the whistling sound, Xiao Yan casually smashed the arrow to pieces. Just as he sneered, Bai Zijing continued. You want to talk about the fire lotus, right? Elder Rong once specially mentioned to me that once that thing is used, even Source Venerables will have to face it head-on. Unfortunately, the person you're facing today is me, and you're destined not to have the chance to use it. Puff. As soon as his voice faded, Xiao Yan flicked his finger, and raging flames suddenly rose in the air around him. 6 mysterious fires appeared and circled around his body. At the same time, a heart-trembling temperature suddenly spread out. Chapter 1526. After Xiao Yan randomly summoned the heavenly flame, the expressions of the people from the 2 clans present and the countless human traffic within Xiao City suddenly changed. Numerous gazes that were filled with shock gathered on Xiao Yan's body in an orderly manner. 6 heavenly flames? Bai Hao Tang's eyes suddenly shrank when he saw the heavenly flame. He involuntarily let out an involuntary cry. Although he was already aware that Xiao Yan was in possession of a heavenly flame, he did not expect that Xiao Yan actually possessed 6 types of heavenly flames. Being able to obtain a heavenly flame was already 1 in a million, let alone 6. This was simply unimaginable. Is he going to use that move? Xiao Lei and Xiao Zhuobin, who were among the Xiao clan's crowd, looked at each other. They recalled the angry Buddha lotus flame that Xiao Yan had used back then. Their breathing involuntarily turned sluggish. The 2 of them still had some idea of the might of that flame. This fellow has 2 more heavenly flames than when he fought with us back then. Looks like he still held back in that battle. Humph, stubborn. At the same time, Bai Zijing snorted furiously when he saw Xiao Yan summon the heavenly flames. He raised the longbow in his hand and quickly raised both hands to his chest. Then, he changed his hand seals. Immediately, numerous blue tents rapidly appeared in the sky. As his body passed through the water curtain in front of him, numerous clones stepped out from the hundreds of tents in the sky. They held longbows in their hands and pointed sharp arrows at Xiao Yan. Great Tao Technique, 3000 Illusory Water. Immediately after, an earth-shaking roar was emitted from Bai Zijing's mouth. All of his clones shot out arrows together with his actual body. A rain of arrows rained down and covered the sky. Everyone was shocked when they saw this. Although the arrows that filled the sky were not terrifying, no one below the Origin Venerate level would dare to underestimate them. Faced with this storm-like attack of Bai Zijing, Xiao Yan did not hesitate at this moment. His hand moved the heavenly flame that was lingering in front of him until the volcano rock flame came to a stop in front of him. His hand rose and fell as his palm heavily slammed onto the flame. A fire glow shot out and numerous magma fire pillars within 100 feet radius of Xiao Yan's body shot to the sky, gathering into a magma fire wall that completely blocked the arrow rain that filled the sky. Chi 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 chi, countless arrows evaporated under the scorching heat of the heavenly fire and turned into a thick white mist. When all the arrows disappeared, a sneer appeared on Bai Zijing's face. With a thought, the nearly 100 incarnations in the sky stood behind him. They knocked their bows and pulled their arrows. The incarnations behind him formed seals with their palms. The white mist that filled the sky seemed to be attracted by something. It quickly gathered between Bai Zijing's two palms and the bowstring, condensing into a dark-colored arrow. Waves of astonishing water fluctuations continuously overflowed from it. This arrow, chasing sun. Bai Zijing's icy cold voice was emitted from between his lips. The bowstring was released and the arrow immediately shot out. In the blink of an eye, it strangely disappeared into the empty space in front of him. When it appeared again, it had already arrived in front of the fire wall. Only when the two made contact did the empty space behind Bai Zijing shatter with a buzzing sound. At the same time, the fire wall that reached the sky was also instantly disintegrated under the might of this arrow. As the fire wall dissipated, Xiao Yan's face was ice cold. The heavenly flames in front of him stopped rotating, and the scarlet-red flames rose. He grasped the flames in his hand and waved it into the sky. Karmic fire spread and transformed into a towering fire avatar in the blink of an eye. Wrath of the Fire God. The angry fist smashed down, and as a burst of energy surged, the two were neutralized. Chi. The void quietly distorted, and a figure appeared in front of Bai Zijing like a ghost. His right hand clenched into a fist, and as Genesis Chi poured out, he smashed it directly at Bai Zijing's head. Although Bai Zijing was shocked by Xiao Yan's attack, he was also a valiant general who had experienced many bloody battles. He was far from reaching the stage where he forgot to retaliate. In an instant, he used the great way to agglomerate a defensive technique. Illusion water Kasaya. I'll let you drink water. However, the cry from Bai Zijing's mouth had just sounded when a thick white flame suddenly surged out from Xiao Yan's fist. Wherever it passed, the water that was agglomerated on the surface of the former's body was instantly frozen into ice. This punch of his also firmly landed on Bai Zijing's face. Bang! With a muffled sound of bones breaking, Bai Zijing's body could not help but fly backward. When his body came to a stop with great difficulty, half of his face was already charred black. His entire face was a little distorted, and his eyes were filled with blood. But even so, Bai Zijing didn't dare to hesitate in the slightest. He clenched his right hand, and as Genesis Chi frantically poured out from his palm, a crystal-like arrow was condensed into a substance, and he ruthlessly thrust it into the void in front of him. The next moment, the empty space swiftly became distorted. Xiao Yan's body paused for an instant and narrowly dodged the arrow that was piercing over. Bai Zijing threw the arrow out and his body quickly pulled back. Xiao Yan flipped his hand and flicked the arrow that was shot over. Bai Zijing smoothly received the arrow that was bounced back. At the same time that his body flipped backward, he lifted his leg and pressed the bow. He pulled the bowstring with one hand and suddenly shot an arrow. Immediately after, it was blocked by Xiao Yan and the distance between the two of them was once again pulled apart. Cough, 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 Bai Zijing couldn't help coughing the moment he stabilized his body. His pale face was filled with anger and resentment. Xiao Yan stood in the void, slowly exhaling. With a wave of his hand, 6 mysterious fires immediately revolved around him, and a chilling light surged in his pitch-black eyes. Xiao Yan, no matter what, I will get rid of you today. Blood Sea Seal. Accompanied by a roar filled with soaring killing intent, Bai Zijing's face rapidly flushed red, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He grasped the seal in his hand and poured all the remaining Genesis Chi in his body into it. Suddenly, a dark red color spread across the void. Bai Zijing is really forced into a corner. I can't believe he's resorting to this move. This Blood Sea Seal is his life-saving move. Back then, even the junior clan leader was almost defeated by him with this move. To think that he would use it to deal with Xiao Yan, this is going to be troublesome. Many members of the Xiao clan, who had some understanding of Bai Zijing's attack, had a change in expression when they saw this scene. Even the upper echelons of both clans locked their eyes on the two people in the arena. With the help of the secret technique, Bai Zijing's natural energy completely merged into the blood seal. The blood color that permeated the air was completely withdrawn. A frightening murderous aura was also emitted from the blood seal. Then, as the blood-red light flickered, Bai Zijing's figure trembled, and he turned into a glowing figure that shot towards Xiao Yan with monstrous murderous intent. Faced with Bai Zijing's all-out attack, Xiao Yan did not make any other choice. He raised his hand and twisted it. The 6 heavenly flames that were slowly rotating behind him immediately turned into a fire ring. It carried a chi-chi sound of rushing wind as it swiftly rotated. At the same time, a tiny black spot gradually agglomerated in front of Xiao Yan. As the black spot condensed in front of Bai Zijing, traces of great Wei power that was invisible to the naked eye also condensed in the surrounding space and gradually merged into the black spot. When Bai Zijing was about to get close to Bai Zijing, a strange aura that contained nirvanic extermination spread out from the black spot. Buzz! Bai Haotong's expression changed drastically the moment he sensed this power. The Genesis Qi in his body abruptly began to circulate. His body was just about to move when Bai Zijing's ferocious cry suddenly sounded. A blood-colored hand violently slammed towards Xiao Yan's chest. The surrounding space collapsed at this moment as a sharp bloody aura unfurled. However, a split second later, Buddha's angry reincarnation. Xiao Yan gently tapped the black dot floating in front of him. A roar rang out in his heart, and a beam of black light pierced Bai Zijing's body like a bolt of lightning. Even the space 100 feet behind him was sliced apart by the beam of light. Bai Zijing's charging body abruptly froze along with the beam of light. Chapter 1527. The blood seal scattered and the entire place was silent. Everyone present was stunned as they looked at the calm Xiao Yan. The strength contained in that strange black light beam earlier caused even the few origin venerates present to involuntarily feel shocked. Zijing. Immediately after, a furious roar resounded across the sky. When everyone came back to their senses, the head of the Bai clan, Bai Haotong, had rushed towards Xiao Yan with a murderous look on his face. He pulled Bai Zijing's body back and hurriedly examined him. Cracks had appeared on the Genesis bead in the vortex in Bai Zijing's body. If it couldn't be repaired, his cultivation path would be destroyed. Bai Haotong's murderous look became uncontrollable when he realized this. He turned his head and viciously grabbed at Xiao Yan's face. Little bastard, die. Given Xiao Yan's cultivation, it was naturally impossible for him to dodge the attack of a 7-star Yuan Zun at close range. The tent behind him hurriedly appeared as he once again pressed his finger heavily on the black spot in front of him. With all his strength, an enormous black light pillar shot out and violently collided with the palm in front of him. Chi. Amidst a series of intense hissing sounds, Bai Haotong was actually stopped for a few breaths even with his cultivation. When the black light dispersed and he raised his hand to look at his palm again, the strange power had actually corroded away a layer of flesh on his palm. What a strange Do skill. It can actually devour everything it touches. After personally experiencing the terror of Xiao Yan's Do skill, killing intent exploded in Bai Haotong's heart. This brat must be killed today. Otherwise, there will be endless trouble in the future. When Bai Haotong raised his head, Xiao Yan had already used the void path to retreat. Xiao Yuheng arrived in a flash and coldly looked at him. Clan head Bai, the outcome of this battle is up to fate. This is what you said. If you do this now, I'm afraid you will damage the Bai clan's reputation. Scram. What dog shit face. This venerable self-son has died miserably in Xiao Yan's hands. Now, he has even destroyed my Zijing. If you do not kill him today, your entire Xiao clan can forget about living in peace. Bai Haotong cursed angrily as his figure shot out. As he raised his hand, the power of the Great Path materialized in his palm and collided fiercely with Xiao Yuheng. As the two of them retreated, Bai Haotong twisted his body and pressed forward. Just as Xiao Yuheng was about to block him, Bai Haotong's figure suddenly flashed and strangely swept past Xiao Yuheng. At the same time, an explosive shout resounded in the heavens and the earth. People of the Bai clan, listen up. Attack together and kill Xiao Yan. As the order rang out, all the White clan members present looked at each other in dismay. Only then did they circulate the Genesis Qi in their bodies and rush forward. Xiao Yuheng, who had turned around, was blocked by a gray-robed elder who had followed closely behind. The Bai clan is preparing to declare war on the Xiao clan. Xiao Yuheng coldly reprimanded as he stared at the figures opposite him with an icy gaze. However, the only thing that greeted him was a sharp energy pillar from the Source Venerate expert. Xiao Yuheng's figure flashed and his gaze swept across the area. The members of the Xiao clan in the distance also rushed out without hesitation and engaged in battle with the experts of the Bai clan that had rushed forward. In the blink of an eye, the sky above Xiao City was filled with battle skills. It was unusually intense. This time, the members of the Xiao clan no longer hesitated. Led by Xiao Yuehua, the young master of the Xiao clan, everyone attacked fiercely. The experts of the Bai clan were all blocked. The strength of the Xiao clan even showed signs of suppressing the Bai clan. At the same time, Bai Haotong's figure turned into a stream of light that passed through the crowd and chased after the retreating Xiao Yan. After a few flashes, he appeared in front of Xiao Yan in the blink of an eye. Die! Clang! The instant the palm landed, a sharp longsword blocked in front of Xiao Yan. Xiao Xian appeared with a hurricane swirling around him. His sword intent soared to the sky. Even someone as strong as Bai Haotong could not help but feel a little troubled. I heard that the Xiao clan has a genius who has mastered 2 great path powers. Is that you? Bai Haotong's tone was sinister as he glanced at the serene orchid sword in Xiao Xian's hand. I don't have a deep impression of the Bai clan. Perhaps it's because you don't have any capable people. Xiao Xian said calmly. An initial stage Source Venerate. Since you insist on seeking death, I will also collect Bai Rong's debt today. Bai Haotong's face could not help but twitch slightly in the face of Xiao Xian's sharp words. He used his palm as a blade and stabbed forward. Xiao Xian blocked it with his sword and the two began to fight. Behind them, Xiao Yan looked at the sky, which had become chaotic in an instant. His gaze swept across the crowd and locked onto the opposite side of the battlefield. There, the seriously injured Bai Zijing was being protected by 2 Bai clan experts. Immediately, killing intent emerged from the bottom of his eyes. Bai Zijing had chased after him several times, and today, he had even brought the Bai clan experts to attack him. Since things had already come to this, why not take this opportunity to put an end to this once and for all? With this thought in mind, Xiao Yan dispersed the ring of fire behind him, and his aura gradually fell to the level of a 7-star Source Venerate. Immediately, a sense of weakness spread out from his body. He hurriedly shook his head and exhaled deeply. After swallowing several Genesis Qi recovery pills, he controlled the 6 heavenly flames in his hands and began to merge them. A long while later. Qi, outside the battle circle, a faint sizzling sound streaked across the void. The people in the fierce battle naturally didn't notice it. Only the few Source Venerables could feel a faint, terrifying aura permeating the surrounding air. Their emotions couldn't help but become slightly uneasy. On the other side of the battlefield, the seriously injured Bai Zijing was doing his best to refine the pills he had swallowed under the care of the 2 8-star Source Venerates beside him. He was completely unaware of what was happening outside. It was only when a figure suddenly flickered in the air nearby that the 2 Source Venerates released the Genesis Qi in their bodies and vigilantly scanned their surroundings. Bang! Suddenly, a black light flashed by, accompanied by the sound of thunder. One of the 2 experts was knocked back by the black shadow, and they were soon entangled in a fight. Bai Ling. The expression of the remaining person changed drastically. When he turned his head, the black-robed Xiao Yan appeared in a ghost-like manner in the empty space in front of him. At the same time, a palm landed gently on his chest. Mountain River Seal. Despite the protection on the surface of his body, this 8-star origin zone was still sent flying while spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood. A miserable cry immediately sounded from his mouth. Only at this moment did Bai Haotong and the others in the middle of the battlefield notice Xiao Yan, who was standing beside Bai Zijing in the distance. What? Bai Haotong immediately withdrew from the battle in his great shock. He focused his eyes and looked over. At this moment, there was an extremely beautiful fire lotus slowly floating in Xiao Yan's palm. The annihilation-like strength within it caused Bai Haotong's heart to shatter. With a flip of his wrist, Xiao Yan lifted his hand and was just about to press the fire lotus onto Bai Zijing's body when Bai Haotong's furious shout was abruptly heard. Xiao Yan, don't you dare! If Bai Zijing dies today, my clan and you will not rest until one of us is dead. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan's hand paused for a moment. He slowly turned his head and looked towards Bai Haotong, whose face was filled with killing intent. The corners of his mouth curled into a sinister arc as he pressed the fire lotus down without any hesitation. In the next instant, an earth-shaking explosion pierced the sky. Chapter 1528. An earth-shattering explosion swept across the sky. Apart from the Origin Venerables, everyone else in the sky hastily retreated. Once the shockwaves from such a terrifying explosion spread, even a high-tier Origin ancestor would not be able to guarantee that they would not be hammered to death. After the shockwaves passed, a huge wave of wind followed. Several figures flashed through the waves of flames, and after a few low sounds of collision, both sides quickly retreated from the range of the explosion. After a long time, when the energy storm dissipated, the two clans faced each other in the sky. Xiao Yan was flanked by Xiao Yuheng and the others, while the North King stood in front of him. Behind him was a group of cold gazes that stared fearlessly at the White Clan's powerhouses. As for Bai Haotong, he was currently holding Bai Zijing, who looked like a rag in his hand. His aura was extremely furious, and his murderous intent surged towards Xiao Yan. Even though he had tried his best earlier, he had only been able to drag Bai Zijing, who was barely alive, back to him. Judging from the current situation, Bai Zijing's chances of survival were slim. Xiao Yan, Bai Haotong gritted his teeth as he breathed rapidly. The fury in his chest was like a volcano that was about to erupt. Kill! With a sudden roar, Bai Haotong's body charged forward, but at that moment, a grey-robed elder beside him roared in a hoarse voice. Patriarch, we can't afford to waste any more time today. Bai Haotong's body trembled when he heard this roar. He turned around and saw that the auras of the White Clan's powerhouses were in chaos. Many of them had been seriously injured in the previous battle, and even the two grey-robed elders' auras were somewhat unstable. On the other hand, the Shao Clan's people all took a step forward when they looked over. Their fierce auras immediately swept towards the White Clan's powerhouses, instantly suppressing their auras. The outcome of this battle was self-evident. Xiao Yuheng slowly stepped forward and swept his gaze across the White Clan's people. His gaze returned to Bai Haotong. Bai Haotong, I advise you to stop as soon as possible. If you continue fighting, I don't mind letting the White Clan lose 3 Origin Venerables. You, Patriarch. Bai Haotong was just about to flare up in anger when the 2 grey-robed elders beside him hurriedly spoke out to stop him. They really didn't have the strength to fight today. On the spot, Bai Haotong clenched his fists tightly. He looked at the dying Bai Zijing in the arms of a clansman. The scarlet killing intent in his eyes was forcefully suppressed. He swung his sleeves and roared angrily, filled with unwillingness. Retreat! The members of the Shao clan finally heaved a sigh of relief when they saw this group of dejected fellows leave. A smile surfaced on Xiao Yan's pale face. He turned his head to look at Xiao Yuheng beside him and bowed respectfully. Thank you, Patriarch and Elders, for stepping in. Seeing this, Xiao Yuheng chuckled and helped Xiao Yan up. We're all family. There's no need to thank me for such a thing. You, on the other hand, have already blocked that guy. As long as you don't show up, the Bai family won't be able to do anything. Xiao Yuehua's beautiful eyes paused on Xiao Yan as she spoke in a slightly reproachful tone. They have already swaggered up to us. If I don't show up, wouldn't I be at a disadvantage? Xiao Yan smiled. Forget it. You guys go back first. I will order Shao City to strengthen its defenses to prevent the Bai family from launching a sneak attack. Xiao Yuehua helplessly shook her head. She turned around and quickly flew towards the city below. In the sky, the group of Shao clan experts left one after another, leaving behind Xiao Xiaojun and the other juniors. After Xiao Yuheng gave a few simple instructions, he also slowly disappeared into the void. Xiao Yan slowly clenched his fist as he looked in the direction that the experts from the Bai clan had left. He understood in his heart that from today onwards, he and the Bai clan would end up in a situation where they could not live under the same sky. At the same time, he also knew that the people he would have to face in the future would not only be the experts from the origin sect. Having offended an existence at Bai Haotang's level, it was likely that he would have to be even more careful when doing things in the middle region. Don't worry. Although the Bai family is strong, they are just a so-so in the eyes of our Shao clan. After today, they will not dare to easily invade us. Xiao Xiaojun gently patted Xiao Yan's shoulder as if he could see the apprehension in his heart. Xiao Yan's name resounded over the entire Shao clan's territory after the soul-stirring battle with Bai Zijing in the sky above Shao City. Many factions within the middle region began to have rumors related to him. There were an uncountable number of people within the Shao clan who spread the news of his battle results. Although many people were not present during the battle back then, they spoke of it with great interest as though they had personally witnessed it. In an instant, all the young people within the Shao clan regarded Xiao Yan as their benchmark. While Xiao Yan's name was spreading everywhere, the latter was quietly cultivating in the back mountain of the Shao clan. After going through such a huge battle, the exhaustion on his body was naturally enormous. However, the result of such exhaustion was a high desire for strength in his body. Under this kind of collision, Xiao Yan's own strength had also improved a little. Although this kind of improvement was extremely slow, it could already be considered a great help to him, who had just consolidated his strength not long ago. Outside the ancestral hall of the Shao clan, Xiao Yan came here with a heart full of hope. When he recalled his previous experience, a trace of unhappiness involuntarily flashed across his heart. However, he quickly threw it to the back of his mind. The moment he stepped into the courtyard, he saw a familiar figure. Xiao Yang. Xiao Yan was a little surprised when he saw the person in front of him. The latter smiled and said coldly, "It is all thanks to you that I have the opportunity to participate in the clan ceremony." Xiao Yan was a little stunned when he heard this. Soon after, he seemed to have understood something. He gently shrugged his shoulders and declined to comment. "I have heard about what happened a few days ago. You are indeed more terrifying than I imagined. It is a pity that I was not in Shao City that day. By the time I rushed back, the matter had already ended." "It's all right. Since you are already here, you are not here to tell me this." Xiao Yan smiled when he heard Xiao Yang's respectful words. It was really rare for this fellow to say such words. After the two of them spoke, the tightly shut stone door of the ancestral hall in the depths of the courtyard finally opened slowly. The person who walked out was the first elder, Xiao Zhen. First elder. The two of them did not dare to slight the old man when they saw him. Xiao Zhen nodded his head in response. His turbid old eyes paused on Xiao Yan for a moment. After which, he looked at Xiao Yang and said slowly, "Come in." The two of them looked at each other. They took a deep breath and stepped into the ancestral hall together. At the same time, a slightly excited emotion rapidly surged in the chests of Xiao Yan and Xiao Yang. After 2 years, the clan ceremony was finally here. Chapter 1529. After entering the ancestral hall, the sight in front of Xiao Yan's eyes suddenly became dim. The moment his body passed through the stone door, it appeared as though there was an invisible strength sweeping over his entire body. However, that kind of feeling did not appear to be probing. Instead, it was like an elder gently caressing the younger generation. There was an exceptional affinity, causing Xiao Yan's excited heart to immediately become much calmer. After his vision gradually returned to normal, he was able to see the situation within the ancestral shrine. The ancestral shrine in front of him was not as majestic as Xiao Yan had imagined. On the contrary, there were quite a number of paintings hanging on the walls on both sides of the ancestral shrine. On these paintings were the portraits of some of the Shao clan's ancestors. There were also some rare and strange talismans. However, these things had long been covered by a thick layer of dust. There were a few stone pillars on both sides of the hall, protecting the ancestral shrine from falling. Near the deepest part of the ancestral shrine, there were 2 neat rows of chairs. The thing that caught Xiao Yan's attention was the 5 stone tablets at the deepest part of the ancestral shrine. At a glance, they appeared exceptionally eye-catching. What is this? Xiao Yan was finally able to clearly see them after approaching them. Out of the 5 stone tablets, 4 of them had already been cut diagonally. The cut surfaces were smooth and neat. Even though they had been cut for a long time, it was still possible to sense the powerful aura that remained on the cut surfaces. Among them, there was a stone tablet that was still intact. The words that were originally carved on it had been covered. All that was left was the word Emperor that had been cut by someone. Xiao Yan immediately felt his head spin the moment he saw that word. While he was in a daze, a shriveled hand was placed on his shoulder. Only then did he gradually suppress that frightening feeling. Don't look at the words on the stone tablet. With your current strength, you are still unable to withstand that kind of pressure. Xiao Yan hurriedly shifted his gaze away after those words sounded. He looked at Xiao Yang by the side. At this moment, the latter's face also had a frightened expression. Clearly, he had also sensed the terror on the stone tablet. Our clan calls these 5 stone tablets the 5 Emperor Tablets. 5 Emperor Tablets? The first elder slowly opened his mouth. The moment the words left his mouth, Xiao Yan and Xiao Yang's minds immediately focused as they involuntarily cried out in alarm. In that case, the meaning of these 5 stone tablets was naturally self-evident. The first elder seemed to know what the 2 of them were thinking. He slowly inhaled a breath of air and said, "In the ancient era, the Soul Clan. During the ancient times, 5 origin emperors appeared in our Shao clan. At that time, the Spirit Clan was rampant, which is the current Ghoul sect. The ancient remnant clans also called them the Ghost Clan. An origin emperor appeared in the Ghost Clan, and his methods were extraordinary. At that time, the continent was in dire straits because of them. For the sake of the continent's safety, the 5 origin emperors of our Shao clan joined forces and charged into the ghost world. In the end, they succeeded in killing the Ghost Emperor. However, the 5 of them were affected by the Ghost Emperor during that battle. After hearing the first elder's words, the shock in Xiao Yan and Xiao Yang's hearts grew even deeper. 5 origin emperor level experts had appeared at the same time. Such a grand occasion was something that no faction had ever been able to achieve since ancient times. Let alone 5 origin emperor level experts, the number of origin emperor level experts appearing at the same time was probably unprecedented in the history of the continent. It was hard to imagine how powerful the Shao clan was in the past under such a magnificent scene. Alright, you will understand the past in the future, but there is no need to delve into it. What you need to do now is to enter the stone room at the back and quietly complete the clan sacrifice. The first elder smiled as he opened his mouth and urged them when he saw the shocked expression that was revealed on Xiao Yan's duo's faces. Although the achievements of the predecessors were admirable, the ones who could truly make the clan prosper were the juniors. Only the juniors could continue to pave the way for the clan to prosper. Otherwise, they would only be lost in the glory of the past and become the laughingstock of others. Under Xiao Zhen's guidance, the trio circled around the ancestral hall and arrived at a dim and narrow passageway. At the end of the passageway was a circular stone room. As they approached, Xiao Yan could already feel the bloodline power in his body roaring excitedly and gradually boiling. Remember, you only have half a year. After half a year, regardless of whether you come out or not, the connection between you and the clan's sacrifice will be forcefully severed. I hope that you will make good use of this opportunity and not waste it. The first elder's expression was solemn as he reminded Xiao Yang. At the end of his words, his gaze paused deeply on Xiao Yang's body. Immediately, he waved his large sleeve and an invisible ripple spread out. The 2 nearest stone doors slowly opened amidst the sound of gears turning. I will leave the rest to you. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan and Xiao Yang looked at each other and nodded heavily. They each lifted their feet and stepped into a stone room. Following the rotation of the gears, the clan sacrifice was about to begin. Within the stone room, Xiao Yan's eyes surveyed his surroundings. Other than the bloodstones piled up in a corner, there was only a transparent crystal embedded in the stone table in front of him. Upon seeing this crystal, Xiao Yan's body slowly sat down. Following the first elder's instructions, he used his thumb to draw across his fingertip and dripped a drop of essence blood onto the surface of the crystal ball. The instant that drop of essence blood dripped onto the surface, the hard surface of the crystal ball instantly churned, forming circular ripples. That drop of essence blood also slowly seeped into the interior of the crystal ball. Only when it reached the center, did the crystal ball gradually stabilize. Soon after, a ray of light suddenly shone from the bottom of the crystal ball. Soon after, a drop of pure blood that contained a trace of gold entered it. The instant the two drops of blood mixed together, a majestic energy suddenly filled the entire stone room. Such pure energy! Xiao Yan inhaled a deep breath of air. Suddenly, he felt that even the air had become viscous due to this energy filling it. At the same time that he felt shocked in his heart, he did not dare to hesitate even a little. His hand was swiftly placed on the surface of the crystal ball. He focused his mind and closed his eyes. As a thought passed through his mind, the flame mantra, chi method in his body also began to circulate at a high speed. Ever since the southern region had obtained the complete flame mantra chi method, after devouring a few heavenly flames, the current flame mantra was already comparable to a high-level E-rank chi method. Once it was used in this stone room that was filled with energy, Xiao Yan's body immediately became like a bottomless black hole. Under the effect of this crazy suction force, the nearly viscous and enormous energy in the air around him converged into streams of thick energy streams. They flowed from Xiao Yan's 7 orifices and even the pores all over his body into his body. After a simple refinement, they all converged into the vortex. Under such a grand situation, Xiao Yan's aura was like a river flowing into the sea, continuously rising at a speed visible to the naked eye. Chapter 1530. Time flashed by. In the blink of an eye, half of the half-a-year period of the clan sacrifice had passed. During this period of time, not the slightest unusual activity was emitted from the stone room where Xiao Yan was located. Everything proceeded as though the conditions were right. The originally abundant energy in the stone chamber had long been refined. Xiao Yan's palm was still on the crystal ball, and there was an inexplicable attractive force that connected him to the pure blood inside the crystal ball. As the wisps of golden light in the blood essence entered Xiao Yan's body, the bloodline power in his body also fused with the wisps of blood essence. After a circulation, they gathered in his heart and filled his body with the rhythm of his heart. At the same time, a warm swelling feeling gradually spread out from the depths of Xiao Yan's body. The strange feeling of fullness made Xiao Yan's entire body and soul feel plump and comfortable. While Xiao Yan was completely immersed in the clan's sacrifice, the friction between the Bai clan and the Xiao clan gradually increased in the outside world. In the past, both sides would secretly attack each other because of a conflict of interest. However, now, any member of the Xiao clan who encountered the Bai clan would inevitably fight. As time passed, no one knew when it would be the turn of the true experts from both sides to face each other. Outside the ancestral temple, Xiao Xian stood quietly as he calculated the time since Xiao Yan entered the ancestral temple. He slowly let out a long sigh. When he turned his gaze, the clan leader was slowly walking over from the side. "You haven't come here to see that little fellow for a while. Are you preparing to leave?" Xiao Yuheng looked at the depths of the ancestral temple and turned his head back to ask softly. Xiao Xian nodded slightly with a helpless expression. Now that the relationship between the Xiao clan and the Bai clan was gradually becoming tense, he could not continue to stay in the clan. This matter concerned the rupture of the relationship between the Xiao clan and the Bai clan. No matter what, he had to make a trip to the Sword Tomb in the northern region. "Don't worry about this trip. That little fellow's talent is not inferior to yours. Perhaps when you return, he will bring you an unexpected surprise." Xiao Xian merely smiled when he heard this. He had never doubted Xiao Yan's training talent. However, he did not know when he would be able to return once he left. Hence, his heart was still a little worried about Xiao Yan. 3 months later. The stone doors of the ancestral shrine opened and Xiao Yang walked out of the courtyard, welcoming the sunlight that he had not seen for a long time. He turned around and looked at the depths of the ancestral shrine, where an aura was quietly condensing. This fellow really likes to be in the limelight. Xiao Yang curled his lips and said. The next moment. Buzz. A buzzing trembling sound suddenly resounded over the quiet ancestral hall. Immediately, a vast and mighty aura suddenly soared into the sky and swiftly spread in all directions like floodwaters. A bright red light pillar stood in the sky after the aura gradually solidified. Immediately, the members of the Xiao clan, who had sensed the unusual activity, shot their gazes over. The light gradually disappeared and a skinny black figure slowly appeared. That frightening aura also spread from within his body. Soon after this figure appeared, a couple of figures rushed into the sky from various parts of the Xiao clan. Among them, an expert with a golden flowing light around his body appeared beside the black figure in a flash. His body flipped in the air and his leg came down heavily without any hesitation. Bang! Faced with this attack, the black figure merely turned his hand and threw a palm strike. A red flame flickered on his palm. This seemingly ordinary attack forced the attacker back. Ha ha ha, cousin Xiao Yan is indeed extraordinary. His current strength is almost catching up with mine. The golden figure stepped on the empty air as he was pulled back and easily removed the force on his body. He turned around and lifted a familiar face. It was the young clan leader of the Xiao clan, Xiao Xiaojun. As for the black-robed figure opposite him, it was naturally Xiao Yan, who had been in the ancestral hall for half a year. After the clan's sacrifice, not only had the strength of the bloodline within Xiao Yan's body been raised, but his cultivation had also relied on the opportunity of the clan's sacrifice to break through to the advanced level of a 9-star source zone. He was only one step away from the peak of the source zone level opposite him, Xiao Xiaojun. Xiao Yan pursed his lips and smiled when he heard Xiao Xiaojun's words. A fiery expression surged on his face as he said, during the clan's sacrifice, I was very curious about your strength. I've been very curious about your strength since the clan meeting. Now, I finally have the chance to see it for myself. After saying this, Xiao Yan suddenly waved his hand. Flames shot out from his palm and the pitch-black dark heavy buster sword appeared inch by inch. With a slight twist of his hand, a raging fire climbed up. Haha, I couldn't ask for more. You are now known as the number 1 person below the origin venerate level. As the young clan leader of the Xiao clan, I can't be inferior to you. Xiao Xiaojun immediately laughed heartily when he saw this. He gently twisted his wrist and a golden spear with a domineering aura appeared in his hand. The spear rotated and suddenly shook. The instant the sound of metal rang out, Xiao Xiaojun's figure suddenly turned into a ray of light and collided head-on with Xiao Yan. The members of the Xiao clan who were watching outside the arena revealed a hopeful expression when they saw the two of them fighting the moment they came out of their seclusion. The first elder Xiao Zhen and the clan leader Xiao Yuheng stood at one side. Between the two of them, the cute Xiao Ling was about to charge forward when she was pulled back by the two of them. After which, she was pushed behind her father with a depressed expression. These two people, along with Xiao Feng, can be considered the top few people in this generation's younger generation. What do you think the outcome will be if the two of them fight? The first elder smiled as he looked at the two people in the arena, ignoring Xiao Ling who was preparing to sneak away. If we don't consider the two great killing moves in Xiao Yan's hands, young master might have a chance of winning. Xiao Yuheng pondered for a moment before he slowly spoke. At the same time, he withdrew his hand behind him and an invisible suction force pulled the fleeing Xiao Ling back. The first elder smiled thoughtfully. He lifted his head and saw Xiao Yan using his giant ruler to knock away the golden spear. He took the opportunity to get close and heavily punch Xiao Xiaojun's chest. Clang! Golden light suddenly flowed on the surface of Xiao Xiaojun's body, forming a golden armor in the blink of an eye. Xiao Yan's heavy punch was unable to push him back even a little. What a domineering defense. Xiao Yan was confident. Even an ordinary 8-star source sect would not dare to receive that punch head-on. However, it was unable to shake Xiao Jun at all. This was enough to show the other party's strength. Haha. This golden armor of mine is condensed from the energy of the Grand Tao, and it can be considered to be a Grand Tao technique. Ordinary methods are unable to break through it. Xiao Jun swung his spear forcefully, causing the tip of the spear to revolve behind him. After that, he held the tip of the spear with his other hand and stabbed it forward. However, the strange thing was that the tip of the golden spear easily tore apart the figure before him. An afterimage? Xiao Jun's aura was still present, yet the person had vanished. Even Xiao Jun was unable to restrain himself from witnessing this scene. Xiao Jun narrowed his eyes slightly, and then he turned his spear without the slightest hesitation and smashed it fiercely towards the space at the side. Subsequently, a black shadow suddenly flickered in the calm space, and it immediately collided heavily with the golden spear in Xiao Jun's hand. However, if one looked carefully, the black shadow was actually the dark heavy ruler, whereas Xiao Yan's figure was still nowhere to be seen. Hiss! All of a sudden, the dark red flames behind Xiao Jun's back strangely clung to his armor, and the terrifying temperature rapidly melted the golden armor's defenses at a speed visible to the naked eye. Even Xiao Jun himself could not help but feel a wave of shock at this sight. However, Xiao Jun could not be bothered about the heavenly flame burning behind him. His expression was grave as he surveyed his surroundings. Seizing the opportunity, he unhesitatingly threw the golden spear in his hand. It shot explosively towards a certain empty space where no one was present. Wherever the tip of the spear passed, a fierce, heavenly flame immediately rose out of nowhere. Under this frightening flame, the golden spear was swiftly melted into nothingness. It's coming. In the next instant, Xiao Jun's expression abruptly changed. His arms suddenly jerked, and golden light blossomed. Surging Genesis Chi adhered to his armor, and soon after, he threw a heavy punch forward with shocking power. Clang! The sound of metal clashing echoed as Xiao Yan's figure appeared. However, unlike before, the flames on Xiao Yan's arm churned, converging into a fire dragon. It roared as it charged towards Xiao Jun's arm, instantly destroying the armor protecting his body. Soon after, Xiao Yan's arm jerked, and Xiao Jun's body was immediately sent flying backwards. When his body came to a stop, one of his arms was already exposed to the air. If Xiao Yan had not held back, his entire arm would have been crippled. When the battle came to an end, everyone present was dumbfounded. Gazes of disbelief were cast on Xiao Jun, who was in midair. At this time, the latter also shook his head with a bitter face. He smiled bitterly and said somewhat helplessly, "That's right. Heavenly fire is really terrifying. I've lost." Chapter 1531. Uproar. The surrounding members of the Xiao clan immediately turned into an uproar after Xiao Jun helplessly admitted defeat. Although they had once witnessed Xiao Yan's powerful fighting strength, they had never imagined that even the publicly acknowledged strongest person among the younger generation of the Xiao clan, Xiao Jun, would be defeated by his hands. Moreover, from the looks of the fight between the two, it had only lasted for a short moment. Being able to cause a peak source zone to helplessly admit defeat within such a short period of time, Xiao Yan's great fighting strength went without saying. Thank you for letting me win." The two descended. Xiao Yan scattered the flames on his body and smiled politely at Xiao Jun. Even with Xiao Jun's character, he could not help but curl his lips when he heard this. He was naturally able to personally experience the terror of the heavenly flame earlier. It was fortunate that this battle was not a foolish one where he risked his life. Otherwise, he did not think that his ending would be any better than by Zijing's. "Aren't you a little too frightening? How did your battle power increase by so much even though your strength has risen by 2 stars? Xiao Jun glanced at his bare arm. He still had some lingering thoughts in his heart. Soon after, with a thought, a tattered robe appeared. Given his fighting strength, he could already be considered at the peak of the younger generation in the three great clans. However, he did not expect that there would actually be a fellow who was even more abnormal than him. This inevitably caused him to feel a little dejected. I merely borrowed the power of the great Tao and the heavenly flame to gain an advantage. I know that I am no match for you in a head-on clash. Xiao Yan smiled faintly as he patted Xiao Xiaojuan's shoulder. His words were not flattery. Xiao Xiaojuan's domineering metal-type Genesis Qi not only gave him terrifying battle power, but his golden armor was also the strongest defensive dose skill Xiao Yan had seen in a long time. If not for the heavenly flame, Xiao Yan did not believe that he would have been able to break through it. After speaking, Xiao Yan's gaze turned around and looked towards the crowd nearby, where a few familiar figures were already waiting. Why have you guys also come? Xiao Yan minded his own business as he walked forward. His gaze swept across Bai Hua and the three others. His expression was immediately startled as he asked doubtfully, "Where's Ancestor Xiao Xian? How has he been recently? He shouldn't be coming back anytime soon." At this moment, the great elder and the patriarch walked over from the side of the crowd. Their aged voices also entered Xiao Yan's ears. Xiao Yan couldn't help but raise his eyebrows when he heard the first elder's words. The first elder immediately explained the reason for Xiao Xian's departure. Only then did he understand and gradually relaxed. "By the way, since you've come out of seclusion, there's something that I think you'll be interested in." "Oh?" The expression on Xiao Yan's face was slightly sluggish. He immediately looked at the great elder with a slightly stunned expression. Some time ago, news came from the central region that the Pill Pagoda is going to hold an alchemy convention. You're an alchemist, so I'm sure you'll be interested in this kind of competition. Alchemy convention? Xiao Yan's expression immediately changed when he heard this. His gaze instantly looked towards Bai Hua by the side. The emotions in his heart were immediately stirred. Currently, Xiao Xian had even borrowed the strength of the Xiao clan to inquire about the heaven-questioning pill because of Bai Hua's matter. Even though this was the case, there was still no result. This caused Xiao Yan to feel anxious and a layer of disappointment covered his heart. However, the words of the first elder caused hope to ignite within Xiao Yan's heart. The pill gathering was an incomparable event in the alchemy world. All alchemists yearned to become famous in the pill gathering and become famous on the continent. However, to Xiao Yan, the most important thing was that he could only use the pill gathering to have a chance of meeting the Pill Pagoda's ancestor. At that time, once he obtained the heaven-questioning pill, the trouble in Bai Hua's body would be resolved. When will the pill gathering begin? After a long while, Xiao Yan withdrew his thoughts. His gaze once again returned to the great elder as he asked in a fervent tone. "It is still early for us. However, there is perhaps not much time left for you." Xiao Xiaojun stepped forward with a smile from the side. When Xiao Yan's gaze turned towards him, he continued to speak. "Roughly speaking, there is less than a year left. Xiao Xiyu had already secluded herself to refine pills a few months ago." Xiao Yan knit his brows slightly when he heard this. He involuntarily let out a quiet sigh in his heart. Half a year's time was indeed not enough for him. Forget about the time it took to refine a high-tier medicinal pill. Even the journey from the Xiao clan to the Pill Tower would require quite a lot of time. More specifically, it was likely that Xiao Yan did not have more than half a year's time left. "All right, I will do my best to raise my alchemy skills during this period of time." After musing for a moment, Xiao Yan immediately raised his head and looked into Bai Hua's eyes. Immediately, he nodded heavily. After bidding farewell to the great elder and the rest, he hurried to the training room in the other courtyard without stopping. As for the medicinal ingredients, Xiao Yan's own huge collection aside, given Xiao Yan's current reputation and status in the Xiao clan, there was naturally no need for him to worry about the supply of medicinal ingredients. The only thing he needed to worry about now was to raise his alchemy skills. Seated in the training room, a huge green-gold medicinal cauldron stood in front of Xiao Yan. Both of his eyes were tightly shut. His mind continuously recalled the various pill refinement experiences of the past. Until now, the number of rank 7 medicinal pills that Xiao Yan had successfully refined could be counted with one's fingers. He had only refined one true high-grade rank 7 medicinal pill. Even so, there was still a significant amount of luck involved. Hence, if he wanted to truly take the step to become a rank 7 high-grade alchemist, it was likely that there was still a long way to go. After pondering for a long while, Xiao Yan finally clenched his teeth. With a flip of his hand, he took out a scroll of rank 7 middle-grade pill formula from his storage ring. The 7 lives suspending pill could be considered as the best amongst the rank 7 middle-grade medicinal pills. After consuming it, regardless of the state one was in, one would be able to forcefully unleash one's potential and obtain an extremely great fighting strength for a short period of time. However, once the medicinal effect wore off, it would cause a great injury to one's body. Moreover, one could only consume it 7 times in one's life. After 7 times, one would undoubtedly die. The difficulty of refining this medicinal pill was comparable to some ordinary rank 7 high-grade medicinal pills. Quite a number of alchemists used it as a transitional item to advance to a rank 7 high-grade alchemist. To the current Xiao Yan, this thing could be said to be the best medicinal pill to practice his skills. After a careful inspection, Xiao Yan calmed his heart and calmed his breathing. The various medicinal ingredients that he needed to refine the pill slowly flashed across his mind. Immediately, he flicked his finger gently. Numerous rays of light flew out from his storage ring. His hand gently patted the medicinal cauldron. Immediately, a heavenly flame rose and the lid of the cauldron opened. With a thought, the various medicinal ingredients that were suspended in the air around him were thrown into the medicinal cauldron one by one. Next, it was the complicated and slow process of refining and raising his alchemy level. Chapter 1532. After knowing that the pill gathering was about to begin, Xiao Yan naturally focused all his energy on improving his alchemy skills. After leaving the ancestral hall, he immediately threw himself into the training room. The flame within the medicinal cauldron rose continuously. Medicinal ingredients were thrown into the cauldron one after another without any heartache. The medicinal fragrance and medicinal dregs alternated with each other. Xiao Yan became increasingly proficient in refining rank 7 medicinal pills under this continuous consumption. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had already passed. The minimum requirement to participate in the pill gathering was to be a rank 6 high-grade alchemist. With Xiao Yan's current alchemy skills, it was naturally easy for him to meet this requirement. However, what he hoped for was to be able to stand at the top of the pill gathering and have the opportunity to meet the leader of the pill tower. It was not just a simple participation. Therefore, after 3 months of continuous refinement, Xiao Yan was already able to ensure that his alchemy skills were stabilized at the rank 7 middle-grade alchemist level. Next, it was naturally time to try refining a rank 7 high-grade medicinal pill. Although Xiao Yan had successfully refined a rank 7 high-grade medicinal pill before, it was only limited to the rank 7 high-grade zone transformation pill. Moreover, just that one time had already exhausted Xiao Yan's mental and physical strength. Even though he had tried a few times during this period of time, the final result was unsurprisingly a failure. A high-tier alchemist was already something that an ordinary person could not reach. By being able to reach this stage, each stage could be said to be as different as the heavens and earth. Many alchemist grandmasters stopped at the level of a rank 7 middle-grade alchemist. Xiao Yan was able to familiarize himself with the refining method of a rank 7 middle-grade medicinal pill within a short few months. This was already extremely rare among alchemists of the same tier. Hence, it was natural that he could not rush to refine a rank 7 high-grade medicinal pill. Within a somewhat dark and spacious secret room, a terrifyingly high temperature spread in the air, causing the originally stuffy secret room to become even more unbearable. The hot air alternated between dryness and stuffiness. If an ordinary person was here, it was likely that they would not be able to endure it for even a moment. In the stuffy atmosphere, a thin figure was sitting cross-legged in front of a huge green-gold medicinal cauldron. Within the medicinal cauldron, a dark red flame was raging. Waves of shocking heat waves constantly hit the inside of the medicinal cauldron. After being reduced by more than half, it reverberated in the secret room. Within the flame, a palm-sized mottled mucus was slowly fusing under the constant refinement of the heavenly flame. The ethereal flame seemed to have a life of its own. It carefully removed the impurities in the mucus and turned it into nothingness in the flame. The colorful mucus that contained a violent energy gradually became purer under such meticulous refinement. At this moment, the person seated in front of the medicinal cauldron was Xiao Yan, who was practicing his alchemy skills. During this period of time, his success rate in refining a high-grade rank 7 medicinal pill might have increased, but the effect was not obvious. He had only succeeded once or twice out of over a dozen refinements. One of them was extremely forceful. This kind of speed might be able to shock everyone on a normal day. However, with the pill gathering around the corner, this kind of result was far from Xiao Yan's expectations. Just as the medicinal liquid was gradually merging, a wild, violent medicinal strength within the medicinal liquid was slightly displaced, causing this large cluster of medicinal liquid, which had been refined for nearly a day, to instantly turn into dust. Xiao Yan's face immediately turned pale as he lowered his head. This was already the 16th time that he had refined the medicinal liquid once again. It was really unexpected that there would be such a result. While he was feeling disappointed in his heart, a noisy emotion involuntarily rose. Fortunately, Xiao Yan was already used to such a situation. By being able to reach this stage, he would naturally not truly descend into a wild and violent state because of a couple of failed refinement attempts. After sorting out his mood, Xiao Yan could only walk out of the secret room gloomily. He repeatedly thought about the various details of the refining process in his heart. Suddenly, 2 people walked towards him, instantly breaking Xiao Yan's thoughts. "You guys, why are you here?" Looking at the Huarong siblings in front of him, Xiao Yan was slightly stunned. He was in seclusion to train his alchemy skills. If there was nothing important, Bai Hua and the others would not disturb him around the stone room. Therefore, when he saw Hua Xing and Hua Xian, Xiao Yan could not help but frown. Could it be that Bai Hua, before he finished speaking, Hua Xing suddenly extended his hand? Light flickered in his palm, and immediately, a wooden box made of fire banyan wood appeared. The moment the wooden box appeared, a strange energy quietly overflowed from it. When he felt the aura, Xiao Yan felt his entire body and even his soul tremble slightly. This item is unique to my fire banyan clan. It's called the Flame Lingji. Hua Xing gently pushed his palm forward, and the wooden box was sent in front of Xiao Yan by an invisible force. Fire Banyan Clan's Flame Lingji? Hearing this, Xiao Yan's expression froze. Then, a look of surprise surged on his face. He had come across this item by chance in some of the ancient books of the Xiao clan. It was said that this item was originally the treasure of the Fire Banyan clan. Although it was a medicinal ingredient, only the Fire Banyan clan could successfully raise it. Once the Flame Lingji was consumed, it would allow the user to possess the legendary source body. Unless the user was on the verge of death, the user's soul origin would not be damaged or destroyed. This was one of the reasons why very few people could kill the Fire Banyan clan during its heyday. The miraculous effect of the Flame Lingji had once caused countless alchemists on the continent to go crazy. There was even a rank 8 alchemist who paid a great price to gather experts to the Fire Banyan clan to seize it. However, with the destruction of the Fire Banyan clan, the Flame Lingji had long disappeared in the long river of history. Now, on the continent, there was probably no one who could take it out. However, such a legendary item had now appeared in front of Xiao Yan. The Flame Lingji was originally bred by my Fire Banyan clan's ancestors using a special method to combine the power of magma and earth veins. The success rate is extremely low. This one was also left behind by Hua Qing's grandfather when my sister and I were breaking through. I originally planned to refine it carefully after my cultivation stabilized, but, at the end of his words, Hua Qing glanced at the young girl, Hua Xian, and slowly exhaled. We also have some understanding of Senior Bai Hua's matter. Therefore, after this girl and I have repeatedly considered it, we have decided to gift this item to Senior. After all, compared to us, you, who have a heavy responsibility and are also an alchemist, are more suited for the power within this item. Seeing this, Xiao Yan was stunned. He then shook his head with a bitter smile. The flame Lingji was not only a clan treasure to the Fire Banyan clan, but also a last resort to protect their lives. How could it be suitable or not? I will try my best to think of a solution for the Elixir Association. However, you should keep the flame Lingji for yourselves. If I were to take the treasure that the Fire Banyan tribe left for you, wouldn't I be throwing away my bottom line? Huixing was momentarily speechless when he heard this. He opened his mouth slightly and exchanged glances with Huixian beside him. After which, he nodded slightly. His hand, which he had extended forward, was suddenly clenched. One could hear a bang sound as the wooden box containing the flame Lingji suddenly burst apart. At the same time, a pure aura spread outwards. Huixing decisively smiled. He lifted his hand and the flame Lingji floated in front of Xiaoyan. The preservation of the flame Lingji must be stored in a wooden box made of Fire Banyan wood. Once the wooden box is destroyed, the medicinal strength of the flame Lingji can at most be preserved for 3 days. After 3 days, the energy within will begin to disappear. Therefore, Senior Xiaoyan, you should hurry. Looking at the flame Lingji in front of him that was emitting waves of pure medicinal strength, Xiaoyan's face could not help but be at a loss. Even though his heart was filled with longing for this treasure, but, a long while later, Xiaoyan finally laughed bitterly. Since things had already developed to this point, it was likely that he could no longer decline. Immediately, he waved the heavenly flame in his hand and formed a thin barrier that covered the surface of the flame Lingji. He looked at the brother and sister, who were smiling at each other. His eyes were filled with gratitude as he cupped his hands together. After which, with a twist of his hand, he kept it into his storage ring. Chapter 1533. Xiaoyan was seated cross-legged in the quiet stone room. At this moment, there was a completely crimson Lingji mushroom in the empty space in front of him. Its fiber lines were just like tree bark. It was slowly suspended in the air. A dark red flame wrapped around the medicinal ingredient, sealing the majestic energy within it that was about to dissipate. Eyeing the flame Ganoderma in front of him, Xiaoyan inhaled a deep breath of air. The emotions in his chest were complicated. A long while later, he finally hardened his gaze. He opened his mouth and a cluster of dark red flame was spat out. With a twist of his wrist, the flame carried a bright tail that immediately wrapped around the flame Ganoderma in front of him. The instant the temperature exploded, a wave of pure and enormous mysterious energy suddenly erupted. The raging flames continued to rise under Xiaoyan's control, causing the space in the stone room to rapidly dry up. The scarlet-red body of the flame Lingji mushroom grew increasingly dark and rich under the heavenly fire. Once the energy within was extracted, it would be the best time for Xiaoyan to devour and absorb it. As expected of the Fire Banyan clan's ultimate treasure. This flame Lingji mushroom's resistance to fire is truly incomparable to ordinary herbs. In the blink of an eye, nearly a day had passed. Xiaoyan could not help but exclaim in surprise when he saw that the flame Lingji mushroom had not undergone much change. After a long period of high-temperature refinement, the wrinkles on the flame Lingji mushroom's surface were still clearly visible. Although the original scarlet-red color of the Lingji mushroom had almost turned black, overall, not much had changed. One must know that given the power of Xiaoyan's fusion of several heavenly fires, it would take him at most 2 to 3 days to refine nearly 1,000 high-tier herbs. However, the flame Lingji mushroom had only undergone a slight change in color after being burned by the heavenly fire for a long time. This was simply unimaginable. Under Xiaoyan's all-out refinement without sparing any of his Genesis Qi, the flame Lingji's outer appearance, which had already turned pitch black, finally gradually cracked apart amidst a wave of black smoke on the evening of the 3rd day. A clear cracking sound was like that of an exploding rock. When the outer shell fell off, it turned into nothingness within the heavenly flame. Soon after, a cluster of extremely pure pale yellow energy appeared in front of Xiaoyan. I've finally succeeded. Looking at the flame Lingji in front of him that was about to break apart, Xiaoyan's face was filled with joy and he could not help but heave a long sigh of relief. As the flame gradually disappeared, one could see that Xiaoyan's face was already somewhat pale. It could be seen that he had already gone all out in order to refine the flame Lingji during these 3 days. Xiao Yan's finger gently touched the pale yellow energy cluster. Immediately, a warm aura that seeped into one's heart assaulted Xiao Yan's mind. That kind of strange feeling caused Xiao Yan's pale white face to recover greatly in an instant. Xiao Yan involuntarily praised in his heart. After which, he ceased hesitating. He widened his mouth and a suction force immediately surged out, swallowing this cluster of energy into his stomach. The energy sank into his stomach and reached his lower abdomen. Soon after, a wave of warm energy swiftly spread throughout his body, spreading to his limbs and bones. That kind of feeling reached his soul. His entire body suddenly felt comfortable, causing Xiao Yan to have the impulse to roar towards the sky. Ha! An explosive cry that was mixed with a vigorous energy aura continuously reverberated within the secret room. Xiao Yan's body trembled comfortably under the enrichment of this energy. Only after a long while did everything gradually return to calmness. The absorption of the flame Lingji could be considered to be on the right track. 1 month later. Xiao Yan closed his eyes and concentrated. His mind sunk into his sea of consciousness and merged into the soul bead. A cluster of pure milky white soul essence surfaced within his mind. Observing this soul essence that did not seem to have any changes compared to before, Xiao Yan could not help but be slightly stunned. In a month's time, the refining and absorption of the flame Lingji had long ended. Xiao Yan's body had become a little stronger under the nourishment of the energy. His spiritual strength had also increased. However, this soul essence and the so-called body of origin did not seem to have any clear manifestation. Of course, as for the legend that the soul essence would not be damaged or destroyed unless one was on the brink of death, Xiao Yan was naturally not stupid enough to experience it. However, in the following refining process, with the addition of the flame Lingji to his spiritual strength, the refining of elixirs had indeed become a lot smoother. Unknowingly, Xiao Yan's success rate in refining rank 7 high-grade elixirs had become higher and higher. While Xiao Yan was immersed in improving his alchemy skills, the elites of the younger generation in the Xiao clan had also left the clan one after another to experience the world. Although the relationship between the Xiao clan and the Bai clan had become increasingly tense, the younger generation was not willing to see Xiao Yan continue to grow while they did not improve. Moreover, even if it was for the sake of the confrontation between the Xiao clan and the Bai clan, it was still necessary for them to increase their strength. On the other side, Xiao Dingtian, Xiao Gan, Xiao Jinghong and the others, who usually held high positions in the clan, had become silent. Currently, they had lost their authority in the clan and could only quietly retire in the mountains with the status of ordinary elders. The current Xiao clan was no longer a place where they could interfere. In Tianyang City, the Yin clan relied on the authority given by Xiao Xian to change with each passing day. The Yin clan's reputation in the Xiao clan grew higher and higher. On the other hand, the Zhao clan in Liang City no longer had the backing of the 3 great chiefs. In addition to the estrangement between Zhao Jin and Xiao Yan, the Zhao clan's influence was already gone. Now, they were quietly curled up in Liang City. There was almost no news about them in the outside world. The green-gold medicinal cauldron stood in the dimly lit stone room. The heavy feeling it gave off was like a towering mountain, causing the atmosphere in the stone room to become a little heavier. At this moment, Xiao Yan was holding a scroll in his hand in front of this medicinal cauldron. When he slowly opened it, the words that contained a clear golden glow were also reflected in his eyes. Earth Spirit Quenching Flame Pill, High Grade Rank 7. There is a certain chance of assisting a source sect expert to break through to the 1st star level. For alchemists, there is an extremely high chance of tempering their own flames, increasing the might of their flames. Refining this pill requires a total of 467 medicinal ingredients. The main ingredient is Fire Banyan Branch. A trace of surprise flashed across Xiao Yan's eyes as he read the various descriptions of the medicinal pill on the scroll. The corners of his mouth gradually lifted into a smile when he saw that the main ingredient was a fire banyan branch. Currently, all the fire banyan branches in the flowing fire plains were in his hands. Fortunately, this pill formula had landed in his hands. If it was someone else, they would be powerless even if they wanted to. Various thoughts flashed across Xiao Yan's mind as he kept the pill formula. With a flick of his finger, a raging heavenly flame immediately rose from within the medicinal cauldron. Soon after, his finger moved and rays of light immediately flew out. Soon after, they transformed into stalk after stalk of rarely seen medicinal ingredients. Under the control of his spiritual strength, they were thrown into the Luo Tian cauldron. Chapter 1534. The refinement of a medicinal pill emphasized on refining and merging the different medicinal strengths contained within the many medicinal ingredients. This was especially the case between high-grade medicinal ingredients. The wild and violent energy contained within them was already incomparably enormous. Wanting to perfectly merge them was an extremely great test for an alchemist. This kind of test was not only a requirement on one's spiritual strength, but it was also a requirement on one's precise control of the flame as well as a deep understanding of the different medicinal properties of the various medicinal ingredients. Only by thoroughly mastering them and using the different medicinal ingredients to balance each other, would the merging process be smooth and without error. Only then would one be considered to have achieved the prerequisite of the completion of the medicinal pill. Currently, nearly 2 months had passed since Xiao Yan had refined the ground spirit-quenching flame pill. During this period of time, due to a couple of small mistakes, Xiao Yan had wasted over a dozen fire banyan branches. If this kind of matter happened in the outside world, it was likely that it would cause countless number of alchemists to be heartbroken. However, to Xiao Yan, who possessed a mountain of fire banyan branches, this appeared to be very ordinary. After experiencing a couple of failures earlier, Xiao Yan had also accumulated quite a lot of experience. This time around, the refining process was undoubtedly even more cautious and careful. After a meticulous refining process, the medicinal liquid within the medicinal cauldron in front of him was slowly and steadily merging at this moment. Chi, under the careful separation of the heavenly flame, the 5 lumps of pure paste-like liquid approached each other at an extremely slow speed. The wild and violent energy within them repeatedly came into contact with the flame, emitting a wave of fine explosive sounds. Fortunately, Xiao Yan was already used to this. He did not care about the collision of those energies as he wholeheartedly focused on the control of the medicinal liquid. This seemingly simple merging process, which was only a short distance of a few centimeters, lasted for nearly half a day. When all the medicinal liquid within the medicinal cauldron merged and gathered, forming a palm-sized mottled sphere, Xiao Yan's tensed heart finally quietly relaxed. Although the pill merging process was slow, it won in terms of stability. A couple of days later, the various energies within the medicinal ball merged with each other and were gradually twisted into one. A mottled embryonic pill that had been condensed to the size of a longan was considered to have been formed. Next was the most important and long step, pill formation. 1 week later. In the clear sky, the white clouds were arranged like fish scales. The dazzling sunlight swept past the edge of the clouds, forming a bright beam of light. It was very beautiful. But suddenly, an inexplicable force rapidly gathered above the clear sky. The sky immediately darkened, and heavy dark clouds gathered like rolling waves. Faintly, there were bursts of muffled thunder spreading out. This scene that suddenly appeared in the sky immediately stirred a commotion within the Shao clan. A moment later, a couple of figures swiftly rushed out from the depths of the Shao clan and rushed towards the thunderclouds. If one were to take a closer look, the person in front of them would surprisingly be the granddaughter of the first elder, the second young mistress of the Shao clan, Xiao Siyu. After close to a year of closed-door training, the current Xiao Siyu had already touched the threshold of rank 7 high-grade alchemist in terms of alchemy skills. She was only one step away from truly stepping into that realm. However, due to time constraints, she had only come out of closed-door training not too long ago. Even so, she already had full confidence in stepping into that level before the pill gathering officially began. However, she did not expect to see such a shocking scene after coming out of her seclusion. When she arrived in the sky above Xiao Yan's manor, Xiao Siyu looked in the direction of the secret chamber. A thin layer of fog was drifting out from that spot. At the same time, a wave of pill fragrance quietly entered her nose. This pill fragrance. A rank 7 high-grade medicinal pill has been born. While Xiao Siyu was feeling surprised by this pill fragrance, quite a number of clan members who had gathered around immediately let out shocked cries. Immediately, numerous gazes that were filled with shock gathered on the secret room where Xiao Yan was located. Even Xiao Siyu could not resist clicking her tongue and sighing. I did not expect this fellow to be faster than me and reach this level first. She did have the experience of successfully refining a rank 7 high-grade medicinal pill. However, that was only a small amount. If one were to truly reach this level, one would naturally need to accumulate a countless amount of experience. However, from the current point of view, the level that Xiao Yan had reached was indeed one step ahead of her. All of you withdraw. What is there to see? Just at that moment, a sharp yell suddenly rang out in the sky. Everyone raised their heads and looked over. High up in the sky, the first elder, Xiao Zhen, was slowly descending with a serious expression. Immediately, the surrounding crowd hurriedly retreated some distance away. The first elder also arrived beside Xiao Siyu. How is it? Are you confident in competing with that little fellow? Grandfather, please don't make fun of me. If I could defeat him, the person watching would not be me. Xiao Siyu pursed her red lips and smiled bitterly in a helpless manner. Rumble. Her words had just sounded when the vast and mighty thunder clouds in the sky began to churn intensely. Soon after, a sharp sonic boom was heard as a purple-gold figure appeared in the sky. It was the Northern King. TSK, this little fellow's puppet is quite capable. Over the past few days, it has received all the pill lightning that Xiao Yan encountered and used it to raise its strength. Now, the strength of this puppet is likely comparable to an advanced 9-star origin ancestor. Advanced 9-star origin ancestor? Upon hearing this, the expression on Xiao Siyu's bewitching face changed. Her beautiful eyes locked onto the scale-covered Northern King as she asked in surprise. In that case, after this battle, won't this puppet have a chance to become a source venerate? That's hard to say. Xiao Zhen looked hopefully at the Northern King as he gently stroked his beard. Chi! Soon after, a clap of thunder rang out in the sky. Black thunderbolts pierced through the sky like giant swords and ruthlessly struck the secret room in the courtyard. In the sky, the Northern King seemed to have sensed something. It lifted its cold face, and its body trembled slightly as it met the thunderbolts head-on. While the Northern King and the pill lightning that descended from the sky violently clashed, a black-colored figure quietly appeared in the empty space a short distance away from the First Elder and the First Elder. At a glance, it was naturally Xiao Yan, who had just collected the medicinal pills. Hee, little fellow, you are quite extraordinary. In half a year, you have actually successfully advanced to a rank 7 high-grade alchemist. The two of them stepped forward. The First Elder's face was filled with praise as he sized up Xiao Yan in front of him. That gaze of his was as though he was looking at a monster. After all, just how many people in the entire continent could raise their cultivation and alchemist skills to such a level at the same time? That's right. From today onwards, the title of the number 1 alchemist among the younger generation of the Xiao clan will change. Xiao Siyu smiled and teased from the side. Xiao Yan did not know whether to laugh or cry when he heard this string of compliments. He could only helplessly shrug his shoulders and decline to comment. I was just lucky for a moment. Chapter 1535. Bang! The sound of thunder resounded through the sky after the fierce collision. The Northern King's body stood in the sky and forcefully resolved the pill lightning that was viciously smashing down from above his head with the might of a punch. He allowed the thunderbolt to wreak havoc on his body as a pair of hollow eyes slowly lifted. He stared intently at the peerless thunderbolt that was once again rapidly descending from the sky. His feet immediately stomped on the empty air. As the space collapsed, his purple-gold body violently collided with the thunderbolt. Bang! The Northern King's body retreated nearly 1,000 feet after this attack. The wild and violent thunderbolt strength quickly followed. The whistling explosion was like waves of mournful roars that reverberated across the sky. That might seem as though it would not stop until it tore the Northern King into pieces. As the pill lightning approached, the Northern King's body stood like a metal tower. His body flashed and appeared in front of the enormous black thunderbolt in the blink of an eye. He waved his right arm and a clanging sound rang out. He suddenly clenched his metal fist tightly. The silver-colored thunderbolt continued to dance on the surface of his body and wrapped around his arm. In the end, it wrapped around his entire arm. TSK, what a unique puppet. It is actually able to mobilize the thunderbolt's strength to fight. The first elder, who was watching the battle below, could not help but exclaim when he saw the silver-colored thunderbolt that was moving on the surface of the Northern King's body. A grave expression also surfaced on Xiao Siyu's face as she said, "This kind of puppet is simply the most terrifying weapon. It has no emotions or sentience and can even mobilize the thunderbolt's strength. This is definitely an invincible existence within the same level." The bewitching woman's bright eyes rotated after she spoke. She used a strange gaze to look at the owner of the puppet. She curled her lips and said, "It is fine if you and the person beside you are monstrous. Why is it that even the thing in your hand has such a heaven-defying strength?" Xiao Yan was involuntarily stunned when he heard this. His mouth parted into a smile as he teased, "Aren't you also beside me? Aren't you also by my side? Someone who can reach your level in both cultivation and alchemy is as rare as a phoenix feather and a Qilin horn in the entire continent. Aren't you one?" Xiao Siyu pursed her red lips. Her smile was quite enchanting. Xiao Yan softly smiled and sighed in response. "Me? I am different from you." Boom! Just as Xiao Siyu was about to reply, the Northern King, who was in the sky, did not stop his tightly clenched fist. The moment he swung his fist, the surrounding empty space suddenly collapsed with a sonic boom. In the endless pitch-black void space was an arm wrapped by thunderbolt strength. Invisible spatial ripples in the darkness as the terrifying power. The Northern King. Calm. Ground. In. The golden scales on the Northern King's body became denser and brighter as the enormous thunderbolt strength continued to fill his body. Just as the thunderclouds were about to disperse, a strange change occurred to the Northern King's body. Xiao Yan involuntarily frowned when he sensed this. He let out a loud cry and recalled the Northern King. Hiss! Xiao Yan and the other two only noticed that the Northern King's entire body was covered by dragon scales when it arrived in front of the Northern King. It appeared as though it was wearing a layer of armor. A vague rebounding force was emitted from the scales when one touched them. The thing that surprised Xiao Yan the most was that the Northern King's palms were gradually swelling and elongating until they turned into a pair of dragon claws. The strange situation gradually stabilized. The ferocious aura emitted from the Northern King's body had also reached its peak. The Northern King's fighting strength had reached the peak of the Source Ancestor level. 3 days had passed since the pill lightning dissipated. Xiao Yan had learned from Xiao Siyu that the pill gathering was approaching when he left his retreat. The clan had decided to send an elder to lead the two of them to the pill tower in 5 days. They should rest well for the remaining time and make preparations for their departure. Xiao Yan and Bai Hua were sitting in a pavilion in the courtyard. They chatted and laughed. Their eyes would occasionally look at the two young ladies who were laughing and playing nearby. Feeling the lively and interesting atmosphere among the young ladies at home, Xiao Yan could not help but sigh emotionally in his heart. At the same time, he also felt that his body and mind had become much more relaxed. Many years of traveling outside had caused Xiao Yan's mind to always be in a tense state. Being able to sit down in such a relaxed state without any vigilance was an extremely luxurious thing. "How is it? How confident are you in becoming the champion of the pill gathering after breaking through to rank 7 high grade?" Bai Hua gently sipped the tea in her cup and asked with a smile. "How can I be confident? The Pill Tower Grand Meeting is a grand event in the hearts of all the alchemists in the continent. Such an event will naturally attract quite a number of high-grade alchemists. It might even attract some hidden alchemist grandmasters. It will not be easy to stand out from these people." Xiao Yan gently shook his head in response. The jade cup in his hand gently knocked on the green stone table. He immediately changed the topic and stared at Bai Hua. "You, on the other hand, will have no one to take care of you after I leave this time around. The situation will likely be much more troublesome. Haha, relax. That thing has been in my body for so long. I still have some experience in dealing with it. Moreover, there is the formation plate that Xiao Xian left behind. Even if it does not work, the transforming pill ring can still control it a little. I will definitely not allow anything to happen to me before you return. Bai Hua smiled when she heard this. A calm expression surfaced on her face. However, there was a desolation that was difficult to remove deep within her eyes. Xiao Yan slowly inhaled a deep breath of air as if he had seen through Bai Hua's state of mind. He comforted her. There is no need to be too nervous. Even if I am unable to rush back in time, there is still the clan leader and first elder in the clan. I will ask them to help look after you. As for the heaven questioning pill,